Thea.
Hey everybody, we are getting everything started with Drunk Critique, and I'm hearing the music blasting from my testing. Turn it down a little bit. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are still getting everybody gathered, so this is the perfect time to share it around and whatnot.
See Thea.
Hey everybody, we are getting everything started with Drunk Critique, and I'm hearing the music blasting from my testing. Turn it down a little bit. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are still getting everybody gathered, so this is the perfect time to share it around and whatnot.
See Thea.
Sorry, the music's still blasting. Hey everybody, we are getting everything started with Drunk Critique, and I'm hearing the music blasting from my testing.
Too many screenscapes.
Down a little bit. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are still getting everybody gathered, so this is the perfect time.
I know, I stopped doing that too because I run into the same shit.
Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. We got started a little bit early, and now we're gathering everybody. Thea, your mic is now on. Okay. Maybe your camera will go on soon.
I don't know what is not working with it. It should be on.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh, is that it?
I don't see your face. I see your icon.
You might need to click the camera button. Whew.
Huh. Still nothing, huh? That's weird.
Yeah, maybe you want to click around a little bit. And for everybody, thanks for tuning in. Grab your tasty beverage to drink along. And we'll start with some introductions. And hopefully Lalo and Melody will be able to Skype in. They're in South America. Hopefully we get Thea's camera on. But either way, we're going to drink and critique. If you are following along in the chat room, let us know what you're drinking, and you might get to your submissions first. So Marcus, let us know a little bit about you, how to find you, what you're selling these days, and then...
What I'm selling? Nothing. No lockdown, you say. I'm in Berlin, I'm in Germany. Not selling anything but tattoos right now, and not even really doing that at the moment. So that's why I'm here, getting drunk, ripping shit apart.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how can people find you?
Oh, mostly on Instagram at LuxAltera, and my website is crap at the moment, so I gotta look into that. Yeah, it's mostly Instagram these days.
Cool. Joe, let's hear you're got some special drinks tonight. Let's hear about you.
My name is Joe King. Tattooed in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm an owner of Oracle Tattoo Guild. And then tonight I'm drinking local. I'm having an IPA from West 6 Brewery here in Lexington. And then I happen to live above the largest collection of bourbon in the state. And in Kentucky, that's a very big deal. They have over 800 bourbons. So tonight they've asked me to drink this Four Roses barrel pick. This is their barrel strength, and it's fantastic. They're Bluegrass Tavern. Please look them up. Anybody wants to do a road trip to Lexington, you can buy very, very rare bottles from them right now because nobody can open in our state. So please support the Bluegrass Tavern. They're awesome.
We'll definitely have to get down there to do a live drunk critique.
Yeah, they would love that.
I can't do that around here. So Jake, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. Joe, so you said you live above the bar that has the most bourbons in all of Kentucky? Like,
yeah, it's pretty wild. Like directly above in the same building, and next door to that is where my tattoo shop is. So I have like a very tiny existence. I go down the stairs, I go up the stairs, I just do that in a loop all day long. And there's liquor in between.
That
crazy. Sounds awesome. That sounds perfect. That's perfect for crisis. Perfect crisis setup.
Oh, crazy. Yeah,
I remember when at the old shop they built a bar that was in the same building with the door going through, and as soon as they opened that up, it was on. It was like it was the office. It was either work in the basement or this beautiful bar that was actually connected. It probably wasn't a good precedent to set, though.
No, it was definitely hard to focus. It was.
But cool. So I'm going to share this around a little bit while we try to get Thea back in. I could talk about the sponsors real quick. So I'm going to share this, talk about some sponsors, and then we can get started. So how's the lockdown doing with everybody? Some people are back to work, some people aren't.
I'm back to work now. Actually, I'm back to work this week.
Awesome, because the Germans follow the rules.
No, well, I don't think the situation is that much different. Honestly, I've been really, really happy to be working from home because I'm just like Joe. I just go downstairs, I just stumble into my studio, and I can do work. And that's been really good. I don't know if I would have to support a full studio now with multiple people. That would be really hard.
Yeah.
But right now, like working at home seems to be perfect for this situation. You have like a really small overhead, shit just keeps on going. It's pretty good.
And only responsible for yourself, which is really nice. Huh?
Yeah. I mean, gets, and it's just as lonely now as it's always been. So not much has changed.
Yeah, I see Thea.
I think I finally tried to call on my phone.
Yeah.
It worked finally.
It's working.
Yeah.
So Thea, you want to introduce yourself? Let us know how to find you online, and let us know what you're drinking.
My name is Thea Duskin. I'm on Instagram under my name, and I'm gonna try to pop this bottle of champagne.
Wow.
Oh, you're gonna be drunk.
Good idea.
Champagne.
It's just Prosecco.
Who was drinking in the first one that we did? Thea, you weren't drinking the super fancy drink, were you?
No, that was Rain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that sounded good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get to say what I was drinking. I just asked a question. I'm drinking 201 Hopler. I don't know if you can see that. It's a local Memphis brewery, and that's funny because our prison is at 201 Poplar Avenue, and so it's like a play on the local 201 Hopler instead of 201 Poplar.
That's good. That's good.
It's good. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's really funny if you live in Memphis.
It's foreshadowing.
Right.
So Thea, what's the status of tattoo in there? Is slated to open at some point, or
we're closed indefinitely. Not us, but the health department apparently in New York. So what I've heard is, they don't have a date. I don't even know if we're like factored in as one of the phases of reopening yet, which is weird because like you think they would at least get an idea of like when, I think it's salons as well, so it's very strange.
It was really weird here in Germany. They deemed it non-essential forever, and it was just like closed indefinitely, just the same.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you heard like birds were chirping it from the trees. It's like, oh yeah, we were supposed to open on Monday, and then one day later they made it official. It's like all of a sudden they just opened it up again, and now we're allowed to work from today, basically from Monday. We're allowed to work again, and I heard that 3 days ago. So
wow.
Now, do you have to have any other precautions, or it's just straight back to work as normal?
I didn't pay any attention to anything, man. I don't know. I always work pretty safe and pretty clean. I can't imagine like before I really get back to work, because this upcoming week I won't, because I couldn't react that fast and all my clients are traveling. So, which is a pretty real problem right now. So I'm not that fast right now. So I'll see. But I think most people will not be able to actually come to me. So I have some time to figure all that out.
Lalo, you have to click your mic. Your mic is off. Oh, time to drink. Mic technical problem.
Oh, yeah. That means you have to drink.
Lalo, you have to click your mic. Yeah, we can't hear you. It's not working. No comprende.
What you have to do, Gabe, in the future is just tell all the tattooers that it starts 30 minutes before it actually starts.
100%.
Well, Lalo, until you click your mic, we're all just going to be making fun of you. Can you hear us? He's on a phone, so all he's got to do is click it. Lalo, you have to drink.
Can do.
But your mic is off. Yeah, let me text him real quick, and then we'll get started. Your mic is off.
So,
Okay, so real quick, this is brought to you by TattooNOW. We've been doing multimedia for like 20 years, often drunk. Tattoo education, guys, resource for learning how to do better tattoos and for all sorts of great stuff. Inkjet stencils, they have a process where you hook up your inkjet printer, you throw your stencils through it, and they get pretty intense stencils. It's pretty awesome. Reinventing the tattoo. What was that?
He's made it.
Hello. Turn your phone. Melody.
We're in the tropics, so we're allowed to be late.
Nice. Where in the tropics? Introduce yourself.
I am in. Oh my God! This is where the jungle meets the Caribbean. I mean, the closest ATM is 2 hours away.
Nice.
It's awesome.
And what you drinking?
Huh?
And,
I'm drinking Colombian aguardiente. I'm only doing Colombian products today.
awesome. Could you turn your phone horizontal?
Can I put my phone horizontal?
Correct. There we go. Perfect. So Lalo, let people know how to find you, and then we'll talk about the rest of the sponsors and start critiquing.
Awesome.
He didn't hear me.
no, he didn't hear you at all.
Lalo, I said introduce yourself. And let us know. Oh, how do you find you is what I asked.
Oh my God, I'm gonna need headphones. Sorry. What did you say? I introduced myself.
I feel there's a drinking game coming on.
You know, I feel like I was born drunk already because I'm not fucking getting this thing together. I am fire, baby. I'm fire. Fire from the tropics.
The real
Lalo.
Coronication.
I am from Colombia. I'm a victim and product of this country. And I tattoo out of New York, or at least that's what I did before this whole virus thing. I don't know what's happening with my life now. But in the meantime, I can show you guys so you get a little jealous of where I'm hanging out. This is where the quarantine got me. I'm trapped in here. And over there is the ocean. And over there is the mountains. And I'm trapped in here with like 40 heat. And we are all quarantining together, so it's pretty exciting.
Sucks, dude. I'm so sorry for you.
Yeah,
Sounds awful.
I know. I'm gonna have to deal with reality at some point, but
Okay, so quick, the last of the sponsors, Reinventing the Tattoo, where you can get non-drunk critiques from Guy Anderson, as well as like 20 years of amazing tattoo education. Needle Jig Tattoo Supply still vets every order to make sure that it's going to professional tattooers. VirtualTattooConference.com is going to be a virtual tattoo conference. And Ink Squad is Alex DePassi's new mobile app. He also has Palette Pro, which is an app that takes a picture and maps colors to inks and shit. It's pretty cool. Palette Pro.
it is cool. It's cool. I saw that.
oh,
I like
awesome. I wanted to come up with that like some years ago.
it. Yeah.
Me
It's
too.
pretty good. Yeah, Palette Pro, and they're working on it all the time. He completely blew off my meeting today, but Okay, and then lastly, I have to thank Tattoo Society because I love drinking with Tony, and he's got a badass magazine. Okay, that's it. Everybody ready to critique?
Yeah, what's in your growler? You didn't say.
Oh, sorry. New City Brewery,
Mm.
East Hampton. That's been my go-to for a while. Still
Hey,
buying it.
Gabe. Hey, Gabe. What's a virtual tattoo convention?
It is.
It's like what we're
Everyone's
doing
gonna be
right
fucking
now.
beaming in, man. So
Right.
we've
I'm already
got
drunk.
like all the stage events and all the seminars, can translate pretty faithfully. And then we're going to have
¿Tú tienes audífonos que me prestes?
and then we're going to have webcams at all of the different, not all of the different, at different tattoo studios and
Tienes uno, sería buenísimo.
supply companies. So like you could like surf around and have a list of tattooers, so we could be beaming in and watch Guy tattoo or you tattoo or anybody tattoo, and then go over to like the Eternal HQ and do like a little factory tour. Then zoom back to the stage where there's interviews with Tony, or Jake's going to be doing some interviews. 2 days, so we've got. I'll do the ad later when it's funnier.
You know what? That sounds so much better than the real tattoo convention.
Yeah, and at night I'm sure we can still get fucked up on FaceTime.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Exacto
Nobody's gonna
mundo.
get kicked out of the hotel room.
Yeah, one of the best parts about doing drunk critique in separate places is that there's no chance of anybody fighting after. Okay, I'm setting up the first one. This
Alright.
is a
Destroy
tattoo
somebody.
from Charles Heisel.
How do I see this?
Chaz, they'll be popping up soon.
Okay, I'm
let me-
gonna run and get some headphones.
Cool.
Last time you gave us a bunch of really good tattoos to start it off, and
Oh, we're not doing that today.
okay.
That was a joke, maybe. I don't know. Okay, now you can see this coming up.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Charles Heisel, this is his Instagram is at CFH Tattooer. It's working.
I mean, I like it.
I got
Yeah,
it.
I'm pretty happy with it. I
Yeah.
really dig the contrast of the that leopard print pattern, like in the whip shade black section, contrasting from the boldness of the chrome. It's really fun.
Yeah, I love
Such a
that.
good
kinda
idea
like-
too.
I love that like '90s robot chrome. That stuff's.
Mhm.
I used
Isn't
to
that
try
cool?
to pull that stuff off back then. I never knew what I was doing.
You know how hard it is to do that kind of stuff, and
It's a
actually,
shark.
you see it and you know right away what you're seeing. That's really good. That's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I got nothing. I don't even want to nitpick it. Doesn't seem.
Yeah.
Yeah. it
I'm
doesn't
struggling
really
to nitpick it too.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
needs
see that.
nothing.
Oh! I got one. You see that one whisker and that one chrome droplet going over the whisker? That doesn't seem right.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the whisker
there-
should sit in front of the chrome droplet. Yeah.
So there you go. Do it again.
All right.
How do I see the tattoo?
You need to click the buttons.
All of the buttons, man.
So right now, you gotta click the buttons. There's a way to change the way you're looking at the call. I can't control it. Only you can do it.
Switch camera, turn caption.
We're not waiting for you though. You'll click it.
No,
Forget it.
go. Done. Report abuse.
You got it?
We're not waiting for you.
We've got Christopher from the chat room says he's drunk tonight and he'll shave his head bald if somebody finds him on Facebook. And then there's a lot of emojis.
Oh.
I mean, technically, somebody's already found him on Facebook, so he's just kind of got to shave his head.
Voila.
Oh. Is this a different person on this one?
Same person, Charles.
Same person. Yeah. Okay.
That's weird.
Is that broccoli?
That is probably not broccoli.
It's magic broccoli.
Cannabinoid broccoli.
Cannabinoid broccoli. He looks happy. Very happy about his broccoli.
He does.
I would have. I had to kind of zoom in to see like the broccoli leaves. I guess you would say the leaves of the broccoli. So I might would have made those. I would have like either like kind of reflect a little more light or change the like chroma a little bit where they weren't the exact same gray as the background. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, there's leaves. You're right.
I'm pretty sure those are tiny flames because that broccoli was on fire. He's a sharecropper.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah,
I'd say the hands are very thin, and I suspect in a couple of years that will probably close up a little bit more. There's a lot of black in there, and that tends to spread a little bit. So maybe a little less heavy on the black and the tiny detailed stuff. Yeah, for sure.
I agree with that.
I'm not a fan of the leaves. I don't understand the just leaves they're like just random leaves. They
look
serve
kind of
no
like rose
purpose.
leaves.
Yeah, I don't really get that. They're well done, but they don't.
Yeah, I have a bad habit of that.
Broccoli has a leaf. You can use the broccoli's leaf.
Right.
I don't think it's.
I feel like it's a mix between magic broccoli and leaf.
What about this part up here?
That's confusing. Looks like.
I think that's somebody else's tattoo.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the face? I kind of
Sorry,
like.
no, I'm trying to feature the.
Oh, okay. I see. It's a face. That's an ear with hair. I didn't see it at first, and then eye.
Oh yeah.
Ears. Yeah.
Yeah, that part's confusing, but I don't think that's what we're critiquing.
I don't think that's what we're. Yeah.
No, we can say a lot more about those leaves.
When you zoomed in though, the edge, like the edge of his hood, the outline's really kind of inconsistent. It's almost like it maybe got kind of blown out, and then he tried to fix it, but didn't really make a taper that makes a lot of sense. Just from a technical nitpicking standpoint, it's like the highlight on the hood doesn't really match the outer edge of the hood very much. It's like he kind of thickened up the line in a weird way. And then the line of the shoulder doesn't really make any sense with how thick the line of the hood is.
Yeah, the inner upper arm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
What about the
from the same
contrast
color.
of the leaves? The leaves have like no contrast with the background. That's why they get lost.
Yeah, that's what I
Like-
was saying to start. That they completely
Like
get
even
lost.
the red is the same value as everything else. Like if you switch this to a black and white photo, it's gonna be just like a blur.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good way to check value for sure.
If anybody wants me to in the future, I could do that in Photoshop. I just need 30 seconds. But obviously, it's pretty.
Oh
Wow.
Yeah, these things are
last
rad.
one from
That's
Charles.
So rad. So rad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is his thing, huh? Like
Yeah.
chrome dripped panthers. Cool.
Fucking panther getting into a Mad Max.
So
Kentucky party.
America.
That's so American.
Right? That's
So
like
America.
fucking Tiger King status. Like
yeah, this is
Tiger King.
Vannon style.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man, it's cool.
I don't know. I don't know about the chrome dripping off of its chin. It makes me think about stuff.
Ooh, good
I
call.
like to think about stuff.
The whiskers go under the chrome again, which is an odd choice, I guess.
Yeah.
It
So-
kind of goes through it on this one.
Yeah.
I think I like that better than the under over thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That seems to be the part where he's experimenting.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Oh, where he fucked up and he had to keep it consistent. You know,
That's my favorite move ever.
that's everybody's move. I call it glamorous mistakes. If you fuck up, you gotta fuck up the same way everywhere else and balance it out.
Yep, just put it everywhere
Well
now.
said. Well said.
You know how your clients or friends ask you all the time, like, do you ever fuck up? I'm like, yeah, all the fucking time. That's called my style. That's how
I
you
was thinking
develop
about that
style.
applied to Celtic.
Oh yeah, unless you're doing stuff like that.
How about is every line the same line weight? Or?
You know, something just in general, and it's not really so much about this tattoo, but it's just the traditional Americana approach. Like the backside of the tongue, how the red falls into skin tone. That stuff always bugs me about traditional American tattoos, because you have to think, if you're trying, like if I'm looking at that tongue, I want to see the front edge of the tongue, but the back edge of the tongue is the least important area of the whole tattoo. But then you make it the highest contrast area by leaving skin tone back there. And I know that he's doing that because that's the Americana approach, but it's dumb. It was made by people that couldn't draw. You know, I mean, that approach was from like, you know, that's always bugged me to death.
Bam.
Shots fired.
Hey, there you go. Shots fired.
Yeah. Bang.
Yeah.
Good.
But now I understand why he did it. But you see what I'm saying? Like, if you just kind of like glance at it, the first thing that jumps out is the back side of the tongue. It's like, why would that be something I wanted to look at in the tattoo?
Yeah, I have no argument with that whatsoever.
You
There's
know
a
what?
lot of nonsensical shading where it's like we shade to lines, not to forms.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything's
directional
one
shading.
plane to the other. Yeah.
Right.
You know that.
But you know what? Like when directional shading is consistent, I feel like it looks good. And honestly, with this tattoo, I would go with my first thought, which was like, wow, like
Yeah.
I think it's clean, it's bold. I
Yeah.
think he took the risk to do something super simple but super strong. And you know, like I feel like sometimes people, when they try to do stuff like this, like they overcomplicate it. Like you actually have to be pretty good at simplifying stuff like this. And I think this dude nailed it. I agree with the
Absolutely.
tongue and all that, but you know, like that's with every traditional tattoo. But I think it's pretty badass.
You know, the only thing that I really don't like is that one star above the ear is a completely different line weight than anything else, and it.
Yeah.
I think it would. I think if it wouldn't be there, something would be missing from it. So I like that there's something there, but I don't want that to be there.
Or it could
Because
at
it's
least
the-
break the edges of the panther's head, you know, like it sits too
Yeah.
much inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tangents are too.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that in basic design, I'm like, you know, the tips of those stars should always like either be
Yeah.
far enough inside of the line or far enough outside. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you lose all the power.
And it looks
yeah,
like
of
he
course-
just broke up that one liner just for that one thing,
Yeah.
and then everything else is a different line weight. So
My
that
hope
looks
is
really
that-
weird, but it's all nitpicking. This is a fucking cool tattoo.
Yeah.
Like the first
I
thing,
think it's cool.
you know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
nobody's
My hope
supposed
is
to
that
look at it
the,
this long.
My hope is that the artist is that's like the beginning of them exploring a variety of line weights
Yeah,
in
totally.
one tattoo, which would be fantastic. Like they're already in this great mentality of combining cool things together that fit but
Mhm.
don't fit, and yeah, a variety of line weights would make everything so much better. So please keep doing it. But yeah,
Oh yeah,
you're right. It's out of place in how singular it is.
I think
Yeah.
you know the novelty aspect of this just basically negates all the stuff that we found. I mean,
Totally.
yeah, it's a cool tattoo.
It is.
Okay.
It is. I like it.
I want to see more
And let me tell
80s
you-
airbrush influenced tattoos.
Uh-huh.
Well,
What
we're
are
out of luck.
influence tattoos?
We're on to Istvan Nati. Hey guys, it's Nati again. Thank you for the last critique of my Star Wars tattoos. It was fun. So here's 3 more works for me. I hope
Oh,
you will like them. They hope you will like them.
yeah. I like that werewolf mouth. It looks good.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like I know this reference and I can't place it.
You know, I
American Werewolf
gotta say, like a
Paris.
lot of these, like very
it?
realistic tattoos,
Oh, okay.
what people fail the most with, and I think this is a great tattoo, but like the edges, you know, like I feel
Yeah.
like that big black
Mm.
blob of like a, or like semicircle. I feel like if you would have hinted like an ear or a negative space coming in instead of like finishing it like a round thing, I feel like people who do work like this focus so much on copying the photo that they forget how the tattoo looks from far away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I
Like,
think
it's a
that every
badass
time I
tattoo,
see
I love it,
beautiful
but-
tattoos like
But
that.
it's- yeah, exactly. From far away, you see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
portrait artists, it gets kind of myopic where it's like the background silhouette is important too.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
in composition as a whole, composition
Right.
always gets lost. Like
Yeah.
I love how they've executed this tattoo, but it's a totem pole. Like it doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
Two things
true.
stacked on top of each other.
Stackable portrait syndrome.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Before we go
I
into
mean-
the PSA, donate now if you want.
That's from a lot of movie poster promotional styles, but yeah, it's kind of weak a little bit.
I mean, in all
there's
fairness,
no transition.
it makes it a little bit easier for other people to tie into it, I suppose, if
true.
there's not a lot of transition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel that too. It's like a lot of the people who do traditional, realistic stuff, they kind of really focus on the technical thing, but they're not really on the overall,
Yeah.
you know.
Which should be
Composition.
the other way around, you know, like if you are a realistic painter, a realistic painter that is not tracing stuff, you start your paintings with like a brush and you focus on the abstract shapes of it and the lights and the shadows, and then on top of that you build and show the people how much detail you can get. But I feel like with tattooers it goes all the way around. Everybody gets crazy about the details and forgets the whole thing.
Yeah. It has a lot to do, I think, with the way that a lot of the realistic tattooers approach their pieces, almost like a copier, where they're basically just like finishing as they go rather than working from general to specific, to your point. And and so you end up too dialed in on like whatever, a nostril, before you've even addressed 75% of the rest of the tattoo, you know?
Yeah, like, dude, look at my 300 DPI tattoo. I got every pixel in there.
I do feel like with this person, they've got a great eye for contrast. And then when you were zooming in, like, it doesn't look like it's overly rendered either. Like they're bold shapes. It sells itself from a distance. It would just be great to see composition be more important, you know?
Yeah. The one thing you can't change really is the area of the body you're working with, and if you start with that shape rather than just like a whatever general, like whatever the shape of your reference or the piece of paper that you're working off of, if you start with the shape of the body, and you notice that so many real people that tattoo in photorealistic styles, they only want to work on like forearms or calves or these areas that are really like flat, which it makes sense, but when you work that way, you tend to ignore a lot of important things.
Where's the
about
puppy?
Compositions.
We feature the puppy?
Yeah.
Gandhi.
We go drink to the
Gandhi,
puppy.
of course, we have a dog named Gandhi.
Louis.
Hey, Gandhi, you want to see some tattoos?
Let's get the dog in here.
Say hello.
Hola.
Oh.
Dame dos
Yo.
cervezas.
Hey, buddy, come here. Okay.
That's my quarantine.
Oh, Marcus, we're getting your pup?
Yeah. I'm trying to convince him to come up here. What are you drooling about? Come here.
Sounds
Trying to figure out how to keep everyone up on the side of my phone. I'm watching this on my phone.
Oh,
and everyone keeps
puppy.
disappearing.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do that.
Yeah, I see no one.
Yeah,
Oh, there we
if
go.
you tap,
Okay.
if you
Yeah,
tap
me
your
too.
phone, will
It's the
pop
little
up for a
button,
second.
the little
and go away.
dots.
Can you see?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they only stay up for a minute though.
Yeah, that's the problem. They just stay up for a minute, they go away. Maybe if
Are
I
you
was
on
on
your
a desktop
phones?
or something.
Yeah,
Yes.
I couldn't get it to work on the
Well,
computer.
it's a phone. It's not a real computer. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah, I
Speak for
couldn't.
yourself.
It's working better than the computer right now.
Right.
Okay. Sorry.
What you doing?
Pedali.
Now that has a lot more going on compositionally.
I guess I could pull this
wow.
up and live stream it on my computer though, so I could actually see stuff.
Just make sure that the volume is down so there's no
Yeah.
echo.
Mr. D.
Yeah.
Oh, also, if people are more people are watching than before, so feel free to send in your submissions. We can take some during the thing. This thing.
Well, this is really cool, though. There's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff going on in this.
Oh, I know this. I feel like I've seen this
I
before.
like the concept.
Who
Who
did
is
this
this again?
tattoo?
This is still Istvan Nadi is his nickname.
I wonder.
Yeah,
if I
again,
follow
he's got a
them
great
on
eye for
something, 'cause I feel like
contrast.
I've
I love
seen
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm always scared of big fields of orange. Just
Yeah.
ever. I don't know. I've watched it disappear out of too many people.
Yeah.
But overall,
agree.
like even if it did completely vanish, 15
Yeah,
years from now, like nothing about the overall structure would change. That's great.
Yeah,
It
no.
definitely
good-
it works really well with black, just as minimal color.
Mhm.
I don't like the sticker patch thing outline all the way around it.
Oh, the white outline?
No. That like even the orange, just the shape of the whole tattoo.
Oh yeah, the same thing I was saying about the werewolf.
Exactly.
Here,
Yeah.
Yes.
It didn't
feel
need
like-
that much orange. It really didn't.
Yeah.
Or maybe when you put that much color background, you're making a statement, and that's what it makes it pop. But like then you gotta make it part of the design. Like
Yeah.
then maybe he could have repeated some shapes like the flames on the right side and on the left side, but like leave it like an oval. I feel like it's that part where people are like, oh, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
This is gonna look. If I zoom in, it's gonna look good on Instagram. Who cares in real life?
Right.
Instagram
always-
tattoos.
I always feel like,
is a
when you
great
do
point.
background colors like that, if you do like a big patch of background color, you really have to think about how much of that do I really need? How much of that does the tattoo really need? And this is way more than it needed. Like you can get away with half of that and still have the same effect. And it makes it way easier for other people to tie into this tattoo. And it makes more sense, you make the whole tattoo a little bit more, the shape of the tattoo could be more dynamic. Right now, it's just like this kind of, I don't know.
You're totally right. Like actually, they would have had more contrast if they had not gone up the whole side of the face with the orange.
Yeah.
And
I
you
don't
can
really
use negative
understand
space too as the design to cut into that background too. Which
Yeah,
Totally.
100%.
No,
I don't
the general
understand why
shape,
why is the black on the
shape. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
yeah, why is the black on the lower part of the tattoo so lumpy?
Yeah.
It definitely feels
Yeah.
like an afterthought. Like they didn't want to leave it a hard shape, but didn't necessarily know where to go with it.
That's what I think.
I feel like it's one of those things that he had a sketch and he was like, oh, I'll figure that out on the tattoo. And then when he started the tattoo, that's where he started. And he was like, oh, let me just do this. And then it was too late to do anything different.
Has anybody been to the Dolly Museum?
Oh yeah.
I have not been.
No,
No,
same.
no,
I've
no.
never been.
Definitely,
a
that
little one in
lumpy
Berlin
black
that I
area
think
is an area that you could pull. It would be a great opportunity to pull the background into the tattoo, which to Marcus's point earlier was like it gives someone else an in. Whoever goes up against, whoever has that piece to like work up against, rather than having to either pack over the top of orange or butt up against orange and hope that your orange is somewhere, something close to that. If you can use like some negative, some of the skin tone either in the black areas or in the orange areas. To create some shapes that like pull you into his eye. You can even create some shapes that follow the exact shapes that like whip out of his eye sockets. Like you could repeat those shapes in the background and it would make perfect sense and it would give someone else, it would move your eye through the composition and it would give someone else an in for whatever happened, to pull off of it.
Yeah, some sort of repeating element that could carry over into other parts of the body.
Yeah. Plus, how much do you think those eyes could really pop if there would be less orange in the background? Again, I think I've gotten so annoyed with so many times when I have to tie into a tattoo that has just an unnecessary amount of background in it,
Yeah.
So always think about who comes after you. That's just what happens once you're done with this person,
I just assume it's going to be me and I'm going to have to deal with it. So that's why.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Wait, I want to say something else about this tattoo. Or the universe.
or the
universe. We're in a pretty existential moment of human history. I gotta say that, it's a very striking image, but I feel like the shapes get lost. Like the shapes are not so, like his nose and mouth area, it gets a little lost, like I feel like he was trying to copy a reference, and he was thinking in terms of like darker, lighter, instead of stepping back and looking at the shapes he was building.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a tattoo that has good intentions, but with a little bit more like peace of mind and drawing and painting instead of just tattooing, it could be so much better. Like overall, I like the tattoo, but I don't know if it's a photo, but it looks a little like it could use a little more. It looks a little dirty, or like
I agree.
And like the mouth area gets a little lost, like that bottom lip disappears a little bit, and the top lip is kind of there or not, that drop shadow. If that drop shadow is that strong under the nose, it's probably solid black. But there's this thing. There's a syndrome called the fear of black. It's racism in tattooing. Sometimes you're scared of putting black because if you go black, you can't go back. And I'm not even drunk yet.
That was good. You made
time
me
to
kick over my light and everything.
Hold on, let me get to a.
I think it was a solid. I feel like we bashed it the whole time, but I think it was. I mean, overall.
No, I
think
love
executed
the
pretty
piece.
well.
No, overall it was good. I think just
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it again.
once you put in that much orange and that much black into something, it pops so much that your first impression is always going to be wow, you know, and then that's always going to work, you know. But
Right.
there's still got to be consistency. It's not enough to just go like, here, look at that pop.
Are we gonna put grades? Because I like the tattoo, but we could give it a number. We could give it a grade from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. For me, it would be like a 7.5.
That's all oddly specific. Yeah, 7.
Okay, Lalo, you got a drink?
I got a drink. That's not a problem, man. I'm already like.
Everybody's
I
drinking.
think-
I
Right?
think you have to drink twice every time you say you're not drunk.
Mm.
Okay.
Can we do drugs?
You can do whatever
Do
you
what
want.
you want,
It's
man.
legal in the. I don't give a fuck what you do.
I don't think you're allowed to do that on YouTube, but
Yeah,
Wait,
no,
YouTube's not a place.
as long as we're not canceling anyone's terms and services. Then I have to lose my $10 this month.
Oh yeah.
This is the
Same
same
thing
artist.
about the background.
Oh wait, it's a movie too. Hold on, we got some action here.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Oh.
this is the way it should be.
Oh.
they should all do that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Hey,
game
I think
changer.
all this syndrome with the oval background.
Yeah.
It's a
much
lot of
background.
realism tonight, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ah, whew. Wow, I made that strong.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say, like, and I'm bad about not leaving enough white or highlights, but people who like people who are using realism sometimes go overboard. So if I look on on like the blue shadow side of the head, all the like the dots of white, I feel like that's like, I think the tattoo looks great. But I think that probably what happened is they pulled a photo into Photoshop and they played with like, exposure and stuff like that, and then just overly simplified everything. So when I see all those dots on our right side, on the blue side of the head, I'm like, how could there be that many points of highlight on the shadow side of the face?
And that highlight wouldn't be as bright, like it would be
Right.
a highlight in that
Yeah.
area, but it wouldn't be white like in the front. It would be probably like a bluish white.
Exactly.
Yeah, it pulls too much attention.
That flattens.
Yeah. I do love the nose though, man. Just the subtle transition to the blues and the nostril and stuff. That's really well done.
Yeah, the flesh tone shadows are really effective.
All the flesh tone stuff looks great.
It looks good now, but I really don't know how that stuff is gonna age, to be honest. And I don't want to pull that card, but like all that flesh tone stuff is cool, but exactly around the nose, it's so subtle. It already looks a little bit like a pig nose right now, and that's just going to get worse.
Yeah, things tend to head toward a mid-tone. Light goes mid, dark goes mid. I feel like there's a lot of dependence on the separation of those things in this tattoo.
I don't know if this is going to age well. The whole face, there's just so much going on in a pretty small space. And none of it is really supported by a lot of black. Like all the detailed stuff is not really supported by black. And plus, what I want to say about the outside, the dark blue with the white highlights, my eye keeps going back there all the time because that's really the part of most contrast. You have the darkest tones right next to the lightest tones, and there's nothing interesting there to see. My eye wants to go back to that patch of stars, And
Exactly. That's well said. It looks like a patch of
there's
stars.
no reason.
I feel like that's
there's no
an
reason
easy
for that.
mistake to do when you've been tattooing for like 8 hours and you're like, oh my god, the white, just go for the white. But I feel like that's what you need to
Right.
you need to take a photo before you do the white. I always, before I do the white, I take a photo and I take like a 10-minute break no matter what. I don't look at the tattoo, I don't look at the photo, and then before I start tattooing I look at the photo, because then it's easier to see those things. And then all you gotta do is you do the white highlights, and then you contaminate that white with like a gray blue, and you're still gonna have those highlights, but they're gonna make sense.
It's a really
I
good
think-
point.
Yeah, I know, because I do it all the fucking time.
That's why
But
it's so good.
yeah, it is. Like when I was taking painting classes in school, there was my teacher who was always saying like, "Oh, that painting is white sick." Like it's very easy to start mixing all the colors with white, and then everything gets muddy. And he wasn't not speaking just about highlights, but also like making colors lighter. If you just add white to all the colors, it gets muddy. And the white, as somebody was saying, when you like get tunnel vision and you look at something close, in that little area, putting that white has such a strong effect that you get addicted to it, but then you forget about the overall thing and it's overkill.
That's
What I
a great
usually
point.
do-
Going back to taking it from a painting perspective, I've always had the same problem in using whites to mix into my shadow shapes. But the thing is, in oil painting specifically, like your whites are reflect light, and then translucent colors, darker colors, absorb light. And so when you start to like mix white into your shadow shapes at all, they end up getting like kind of opaque and flat and reflective, and so you'll end up with like a cheekbone on the shadow side that wants to jump in front of an ear, and you're like, why is that even happening? And it's exactly what you're saying. It reflects light too much, and it's something that's had enough tattoos.
Oh, shit.
The tattooers don't.
We just did 2 drinking game suggestions. The first one was from a Facebook. If you have to drink every time someone says contrast, and then I suggested every time somebody says too much white highlights.
Oh.
Shit.
Usually
Well-
it's more black.
How many more realistic portraits do we have?
Right.
Touche.
Okay, this one's Courtney Cole. I think. Hold on.
I have something else to say about this tattoo that bothers me a lot.
Okay, sure.
Uh-oh.
2 things in the neck apple area, like if that it almost looks like he or she outlined the whole apple with black. So there's 2 things. When usually you want to leave those shapes open so your brain closes them and it's more interesting, and that is not because it's a rule, it's just because it happens in a natural environment. So if it was dark all around on that side, it was probably a little bit more, and that red on the neck should be darker to the center. I think, like if you look at it, it's kind of brighter than on the same area in the forehead. You see, if you go straight line up there, the forehead is darker than there, and over there you have also a little bit of the shadow of the neck. So that area, like the look of the apple like outline bothers me, and especially when the reds there are so bright, and there's not really contrast between the red of the apple and between the red of the neck.
Yeah. And
The
there's also
apple's
it's the
stem
same.
tangent is
even on the neck.
And I
you
love
didn't-
Poison. Those guys, when I first heard Poison, I was like, oh, I want to bang these chicks, and then I realized it was
Yeah, that's
I'm
a good
just
point.
kidding.
I'm clicking.
The universe.
Uh,
Why you gotta make us think about life and the future and the
Yeah,
universe?
I rated about a 7.5.
As a background pattern, it's very.
7.5.
I've seen
There.
better.
7.5 is gonna be the. I don't want to hurt you, but do your homework.
Courtney Cole.
right. I'm a little confused on what I'm assuming it's like skin tears, but I'm not positive on the wings of the butterfly.
I'm not convinced this isn't something like found off the internet from a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, hey, and when we get to mine, if we do, in my defense, Gabe said, pull your oldest stuff that you can find off the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what is this a tattoo or a drawing? I can't.
I think it's a low res tattoo here. Let's.
Okay.
I think it is a
This looks like
closely
the
cropped.
90s, 100%.
The 90s.
Yeah, that looks
Yeah.
like
No, go
Okay.
back to that, Gabe.
Okay,
Go back.
okay.
Go
Yeah,
back.
I was
This is
like,
gonna be so
it's
much
over.
fun.
Uncle.
So
we're gonna have a ball with the next one.
Yeah, I got to unpackage this for a second. So
I
there's a
feel
couple
like
of really beautiful things. I've never seen something like butterfly wings incorporated into a skin tear, like to where the
Never, me
wings
neither.
somehow
It is pretty
sliced
neat.
it open. But the best
Also
part
drips.
is this weird drippy nipple thing at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, there's
I have
several.
Yeah,
no
it's
idea
yeah.
what's
Stiffy
going
rubber
on
nipple.
there.
Oh, the
Oh,
dripping
yeah.
nipple. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Very erotic.
It's a sad condom. That's what it is.
Huh.
And you know,
God.
This
it's
is
got like
something
it's got
special.
like little baby ones on either side of it.
I
See
mean,
that?
it's just a lubricated butterfly poking a hole.
Yeah. This
Is it
every-
emerging from the nipples, or is it
It's really a
so-
summary of
sinking
every,
into them?
it's a summary of every truck stop in America. Like that's this is
Totally.
it.
You know, if you're in a truck stop and you see a girl with that, you know you can get a bank for $50. And maybe
So are
two
we-
lines
I mean,
of crystal meth.
Everyone agrees that these are skin tears, right? It's not like a banner or something that's wrapping over that should.
No,
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 it's
no.
totally a
I,
skin
I,
tear.
I want this to be a skin tear.
I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a skin tear. Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to believe.
Okay, I'm with you. I thought so too. I just
It's so aggressive. Like you have a but. I
It's
love
gotta
the
be-
contrast. Like the contrast is great. Like the aggression, and then you have a butterfly.
Yeah, it's an angry pollinator.
No, I didn't.
Angry pollinator.
It's a murder pollinator.
Gabe,
Wow.
what do we
Together,
know about this person? Is this a recent tattoo or is this really a '90s tattoo?
No. Oh, you
want to do
live? Oh, you can do Instagram live.
All I got were the images,
But
and the three of them could all use critique in different ways.
If this is a contemporary tattoo, they're really nailing some kind of 90s that never exactly existed.
Yeah, this could be the new wave. This is the new.
man.
We're bringing
no,
back barbed
you know
wire.
what the crazy thing is? I know some kids that have like hipster tattoo shops in New York City, and they think this shit is cool again, and they're doing barbed wires.
They don't get
Yeah.
it.
I was gonna say,
They're
I'm
doing
not
barbed
even mad. This
wire,
is amazing.
armbands, and they're
What?
It is kinda
like,
cool.
They have like $2,500 minimums to do this.
Right, yes. Are we,
Oh, wow.
Bougie fuck.
Not the ones.
are we shooting at Bang Bang?
Melodies here.
What do you think, Melody?
Of this
Well,
tattoo?
okay. So what if we were gonna like actually critique it? Like, what if it's like
Really?
I don't know. Like, what's the first thing you say?
Wow.
Oh,
I
this
don't know.
I would
Say it,
hope that
Marcus.
it's one of their first two
Oh.
tattoos that they've ever done.
No,
I
this
didn't
is
know
that. Yeah.
one of the first
Me too.
100 tattoos. If it's after your 100th tattoo, don't be mean.
Give up.
Oh yeah,
No,
yeah.
Oh, don't
There's no way.
get it.
There's no way.
Don't
this
give
person's
up.
got
Oh wait,
100
no, these are
tattoos.
real. I'm like,
These are real
There's
people.
blood. There's blood
With
there.
real
I,
feelings.
I'm just now seeing the drips of blood. I love how symmetrical it is. It's just exactly the same amount of blood is coming out on either side. There's like
Oh.
these tiny
there's like a
fat
hidden
condoms
onk
on
in
it.
there.
Like
I
there's
appreciate
so
that.
much.
Where?
But it's slightly
Think
different,
so.
so you know they didn't do the
you see
Procreate
concept.
mirror mode.
I don't.
It's like, does the butterfly have a tiny body, or is that like two dicks going into the hole, or what is
Got a
that? I
clitoris.
Tiny body and long legs.
don't- yeah,
Or
exactly.
an overgrown clit.
It's
think
a
it's an
butterfly
overgrown clit.
clitoris.
Melody said it. I'll take your word.
I mean, look at that thing.
It's so much. It's so much.
Uh,
Great shading, though.
Oh, same person did this one.
No,
Same
this
person.
person thinks it's cool to not use solid black.
Is it the same person?
Wait
The
until
same
you-
person emailed it in, Courtney Cole.
Okay.
Really?
Okay. We have to offer Courtney some actual critique there, right? I mean, that's I'm just
I think I'd offer a seminar off a tattoo now any day of the week.
yeah.
Just email
Hey,
me.
this is
Yeah.
a drunk critique. We only have to be
Yeah,
so
we're
nice.
drunk.
Yeah, we're drunk.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
only
We
have
can
to
all
be
agree
so
that
nice.
that line is squiggly and wiggly as fuck, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Well, I would say it's Courtney, right? I would say to Courtney to like just think about what any like a ball or a cube or a Coke can look like with light shining on them, and start right there. If you had one light source, like if you look at this thing, like where's the light coming from? Because it looks like it's coming from the upper left, but then it also could be coming from the bottom right. So solve that problem first and solve it on paper with a pencil.
No,
And
but I
then-
don't even think she's there yet.
No,
I
no.
feel like we have
No?
to even take it back. I feel like, okay, you're doing directional shading, but just the same thing I said. You think you're finished with your tattoo? No, you're not. Take a photo. I know you want to do the next walk-in and get that money, but take that photo. Take 10 minutes and look at it, and then you see the wiggly lines, and then just make that sharp, and then you soften up your shading. And once you get that, then you can worry about what you're talking about. You know,
And also,
Well,
I would
but
say,
my
pay
point-
attention
my
to what
point-
your tattoos look like when they healed, because this already looks like it's 15 years old. So it's just not even going to be there once it heals.
Right. And my
Well,
point
no,
with
I
that
totally
statement
agree
was
with
that
you.
they shouldn't be
I don't
tattooing.
think she's-
Just
No, but the
yet.
thing is, look, there's just so much technically wrong with this already. Like this whole design with the shading and the heart-shaped baseball and everything. It's just bitten off a little bit more than you can chew when you can't really do a line like without the squiggly wigglies and inconsistent shading. Most of the shading is going to heal super, super light. For some reason, those letters kind of look okay for
Yeah,
using.
I was thinking the same.
No, dude, totally. Like, I can't stop looking at the fact that, like, how did they pull off that tiny little thin line in the letters, but you couldn't do the rest of this? Like, to me, this like screams, get a mentor.
I mean, she went to
like
school.
you need a mentor. Like you've got the guts to throw yourself in there, but you need some kind of guidance.
I don't even think the interior line needs to be there. Like that could just be shading.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you know, when
And
you're just starting out, you kind of freak out about not like committing your stencil, right? So,
Right.
Yeah, true.
There's a cat. Hey, look, there's a cat. Look at that. Where's the cat?
Can they see us? Why can't we see them?
Because you need to open your heart to see them.
More animals. Time to drink.
You're blind and hard.
Is this a new drinking rule? Wait, I got an animal. Hold on.
If there's animals, contrast, or too much
Marcus.
white.
There we go.
Joking. Oh, and they're gone.
Oh,
Oh, cute. There's a puppy. Hey, Louie, look. There's a puppy.
oh, look at the pup.
Ooh.
Where's the puppy?
I'm so jealous of my phone setup. I can't see any of this shit.
I see these for like 2 seconds. Oh, I see the puppy.
No, there he
Aw,
is.
Is that
One of those very fast
a
dogs.
husky or
a husky.
something?
She's a pointer mix.
She's so pretty, girl.
She's very pretty. She's like, I don't know if I want to be on the stream.
Is she drunk? Is she
She's like, are
drunk?
they paying me for this?
Does she have a
Okay.
tramp
I get paid in treats.
I'm clicking.
Okay, I'm gonna say to Courtney, is the girl who did this tattoo.
Correct.
Don't let your ego get in the way from everything we say. Like, if anything, use it as fuel to get better.
I hope this is a cover up.
I mean, even if it's a cover up.
And also, we can start with the fact that it's a really bad photo. Like, even a really great tattoo with that lighting and that low quality of a photo would not look very good.
Yeah, it's time for a new phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's what keeps making me feel like, somebody's fucking with us here. They just grab stuff off the internet.
Yeah, these look like they're off the internet from a long
Nobody
time.
has a
Yeah,
camera
like-
like that anymore.
Not even like he fucking scanned it from a magazine from 2001.
But you know what? I don't
You can
care
see
because
the little dots there.
but these are fun though. I don't even care. I'm not mad.
Oh no, I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
No, I would really actually be more impressed if these were modern. Because they're nailing something like from the past.
Hey, if someone had
Yeah, totally.
the kahunas to send this
90s
stuff
are
in,
back,
that was
man.
great.
90s, early 2000s.
Okay. But honestly, in all seriousness now, like with this tattoo, the first thing that I'm thinking about is cool cover up.
This has got to be a cover up.
Yeah.
Oh, it really is 100%.
I think the
hard.
real question here is who did it? Somebody in a trailer park or some super hipster kid in Brooklyn? Because it's coming back.
I hate the future.
What
I
I don't
hate it.
understand is the lettering is not a cover up, but I still have no fucking clue what it says.
It's
You're right.
mysterious.
I haven't even tried reading
There's
that.
like 6 people here, so we
Yeah,
gotta
I
let them
can't.
talk.
Oh, it says midnight.
Oh, midnight. Yes.
It says midnight?
Yep.
Yes.
Ah, good eye. That's your vibe. Y'all like that lettering, huh?
If you, oh no. If you've been into black metal most of your life,
Yo,
you
look
can
at
read
those
that shit.
flowers. Or not the flowers, obviously. Look at the flower. Look at the leaves.
No, I don't want to.
No, I don't want to. Well, you
I would
got
rather
to.
not.
The shading on the banner looks like it's part of the lettering in a really confusing way.
Yeah.
I didn't even
just
notice
hope
that it was a
these kids
banner.
won't
Thank
these
you for
tattoos
saying
are
that.
Really fast motorcycles.
Yeah, totally. I will say,
I was
at
trying to
least-
figure out, I was
at
like, is that
least the
like
skull,
water?
Even though the skull is on par with everything else, it's got character.
I hate the skull.
I mean, the skull's fucking awful, but look at that dude. He's got something to say.
He
That's not a
doesn't.
pussy ass
It's got
skull.
some
Got
motorist
nothing to
vibes.
say. He's
I think it's
hiding
an
behind
insecure
flowers.
skull.
It's an insecure skull.
Yeah.
All right, I tried to give it a little something. Okay,
Whoa.
here
Oh,
we
this
go.
is so much better.
Better
Oh,
than me.
thank God.
Shit.
Whew.
Okay, so this is
Oh, yeah.
Konstantin. I'm sorry, he's from Russia, so I'm gonna completely fuck this
Of
up.
course.
Konstantin. It's the Instagram is
Konstantin.
KOYOTSUROK.
Why, why are these
Tarot.
commies so good?
Oh. Because they have nothing
This-
else to do.
Oh, you're
No,
a dick. That's not
discontent and vodka.
There's nothing else to do, right?
This is really cool.
I lived in a
That's
communist
really
country for
cool.
3 years and there was nothing else to do.
Can we zoom in a little bit?
This is why I do Biomech mostly, because it's like impossible to critique. I'm always right.
No, but the thing is,
Yeah, no, this is super great. I mean, it's not my taste at all, but it's beautiful and
Look,
it's so well done.
can I say something very important that is gonna go down?
That's all. That's
I
all you
feel like
do all
in the
night.
end,
Go ahead.
it doesn't matter how good or bad that tattoo is. It's about how much love it goes into it. Even
Oh,
if you're not
yeah.
a good tattoo artist and you put love into your design and all that, and technically it's not good, if you can see that, it's good. This has a lot of love, you know, like the tattoo before it was just like, oh, I just need some money to buy more alcohol.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
this
but
took
this is-
planning.
but-
It took a lot
but
of
are you-
time. No time was put into this prior to getting to the skin.
Yeah, but are you saying this is technically not that good? Because I think this is really good. Gabe, can
Oh,
you
no,
zoom
no, no.
out
This is
again?
great.
What are you doing?
This is great.
Sorry,
This is
I was
great.
zooming
No,
into
this
the-
is great.
We're drunk, you guys. We started early.
Oh, I'm totally with you.
No, this is great.
100%.
It's the simple
Okay, I
shapes,
got
right?
something. I got something. Once you are only seeing the hand because there's a long sleeve or he's got a jacket on or something, once you're only seeing the hand, I think the hand doesn't really look. It lacks shape. What I always like to see on a Biomech hand, because I feel like if you do Biomech on a hand, it's really hard to pull off, and I try to not do it for a really long time because of that. But you need shape, and this just, I don't know.
I
Well, I
agree.
mean-
I do think, like I said, like it's not my taste, but it is so well done. But with so much skill, I think a little more could have been like, wow. I mean, it's still wow. But if
Shut
we're
up.
I
gonna
think they could have.
critique-
I think they could have
No, but that
doubled.
little curl at the bottom is a little like
What little curl?
The curve, you know, I feel like if you want to break it down to like the Fibonacci's code and blah blah blah, like it could have had a better shape.
I
all
think
that
that they
shit.
could have doubled the size of like the negative shape pulling off the middle knuckle, and it would have made a huge difference. Like I don't mind the big simple shape in the hand, and then they've started to pull from the knuckles like a negative shapes up and out, and that one from the middle knuckle, from the middle finger, could have been like just straight skin tone and twice that thickness. And I think that like if you're walking around with long sleeves on with that, like that like kind of saturated black background, one hook, and then this one kind of like dart that shoots up from your middle knuckle, that's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I want to see the forearm because this obviously goes onto the forearm.
I like the Fibonacci idea though too. I think it could have maybe just a little bit more interest because there's a lot of detail in the forearm that's really cool.
Yeah, and I just don't find the hand interesting enough for it being a hand. Hands are
Hands
so
should be
important.
really cool.
This whole sleeve is so interesting. There's so much going on, but then on the hand, it's kind of looks like, oh, I got to go on the hand. What do I do? It's like make a little.
Yeah, there's a
lot
going on.
little
Yeah.
loop.
Look how we get when we see a good tattoo, right? When somebody comes out a bad tattoo,
You
you're
think
like,
you're
you're like, oh,
constructive.
whatever. But then you ask yourself, well, you should be better.
This is a great,
Like when
this
you
is a
get a
really
client
great
that has
tattoo.
a
I
lot of
just don't
shitty
like the
tattoos
hand.
and you're doing a tattoo and then they get extra fucking critical about your tattoo. I'm like, dude, look at the rest of the tattoos you have. No,
I
but
mean,
I
we'd have
think
nothing
you
to
guys
say.
I
both-
think I
Feel
think
like
the
moving
top
on.
to me the top of the shoulder is the weakest part of it. I mean, I
Yeah.
think you know I mean I
The
love
top
the
of the
pieces
shoulder
on-
looks very incomplete and
Yeah,
just
and
not.
I assume they're gonna pull it over his shoulder maybe.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't know.
Yeah,
that's
it
where I
doesn't
would
finish.
bring the green back.
Yeah.
Probably bring the
Yeah.
I
green
mean,
back
this shit
on
is
the
so
shoulder.
fucking solid, honestly.
Mhm.
It's
Sick.
dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are
really
you
hard
even
to critique.
submitting that? You know that shit was good.
Mm-hmm.
Now this, we got something to say about this guy. Look at him. No, but it's cute in such a weird way. I don't like it though.
Foreshortening is weird.
No, I don't
Yeah.
like.
He's pointing at me
This
like I
looks like
should respect him, and I
Eddie
really don't.
from Iron Maiden, but the inflatable version, so you can put it in your kid's room.
The inflatable.
Yeah, you know that one
Yeah.
outside the restaurant. That
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
to get more customers.
But
Can
you
I-
know when you said
can
if
I
the
say
tattoo
some
has love or
productive
not,
thing?
this has love.
Yeah, it has love. No
I'm gonna
contrast.
say one. Hey, you guys,
Oh,
I'm
double
gonna say
drink.
one or two productive things. All right.
Yeah.
The hand that's pointing at me doesn't pop forward at all. It kind
Right.
of
No, it's
kind
pointing
of
at you.
melts. It
Not
kind
at
of
all.
melts with a skull and with the ribs. It's all on one layer,
Yeah,
and
absolute.
there's no depth there, and that bothers me.
Yeah, I
So-
agree with that.
The
Yeah.
foreshortening doesn't work at all.
Hey, so to show this person like what they could have done to
Look at that
separate,
little
because like
roll.
the jaw stands forward more than the hand and the finger. So to
Yeah.
illustrate it, if you could go, Gabe, can you flip back real quickly to that last one just to show a quick contrast? Because all right. So zoom in. All right. So like in that centerpiece, that orange glow that pops forward from the darkest blue kind of recesses, that's like the perfect combination of like value contrast, chroma contrast, surrounded by everything. Like all those teeth point to that area of contrast. Everything works to like work. Like the first thing you can't not look at that like orange yellow glow of that eye, and then go back forward to that other one. You can pull that off in black and gray too. You don't have to have the color. I mean, it would help if you did, especially since there's so much color background. But it's like, but just learning those like basic principles of like how value, color, and edge relate to each other makes all the difference in the world. And if you don't have a basic grasp of them, you'll just never solve those problems.
I mean, it's so hard to do something that is black and gray and color, and then you choose to do color in the background. It's gonna
Right.
pop forward, and that's going to put it just all on the same plane. And then you have like your main character in black and gray with the color background. That's almost
That's
never,
an uphill battle.
yeah, really hard. And then I don't know. I could keep picking
Very good
away.
point.
There are very few people that can pull that off. Color background with a black and gray foreground, and trying to bring trying to make the foreground the focal point. Look at this person should look at Rember. He's like the only dude that I know that can make black and gray work with a color background.
Who's that?
Remember?
Rember? Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Of course.
I feel like we should always try to. The person who's submitting that, they're probably taking notes, and we're joking and all that, and that's fine. That's why it's a drone critique. But we should give them at least like a
He's a
light.
Cancer.
Hey,
Yeah.
we should give them at least a light. Like
If you do another session on this, we can make it better.
I feel like more than
that is
anything
true.
is like, how can you get better? Like that should be one thing that we should all like. How can you get better? And by writing down all the list of things what we say, this person is not even gonna get better because he's not gonna understand it. You gotta draw. You really gotta draw and do some tutorials and take some classes and understand how to translate a 3D image into a 2D plane. So all these things make sense more than just listening to us and Googling what it means. I feel like they're not gonna get better like that. It's gonna sound like blah, 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 whatever. You know what I mean? Or am I getting too responsible?
No, absolutely.
No. You're very responsible, and I like it.
I mean, it's also
I also would say that this is obviously a healed tattoo, right? So they took a kind of a flat photo of a healed tattoo, and everything else we looked at for the most part is fresh.
I think
that
some of the black is fresh down at where the bike is. I think what you could do is give the hand that is pointing at us a little bit of a more thicker outline, like increase the line weight on that so it pops forward, it's more separated from the rest.
Yeah.
Give the ribs like an overall shading so that there's no like pure skin tone in there, so they pop back a little bit, and see where that gets you.
That'll do a lot.
That might already do a lot. And
Google
then,
atmospheric perspective, and they'll get it. You know, like that is what atmospheric, like whatever is closer to your eye is gonna have the highest contrast. That means it's gonna have the
Yes.
darkest black and the lightest light, and whatever goes behind that is gonna have more particles of air between your eye and that, which is gonna add a little fuzz to it.
yes.
Right.
Atmospheric
I feel like-
perspective.
Purple mountains, right?
I feel like this is competing between soft and hard too, in like a weird way. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
You mean it's like a
Absolutely,
like a whiskey dick?
Don't we all?
Oh my God.
Like I'm gonna fuck this shit out of it. Wait. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my God.
Nice,
Am
good
I
setup.
drunk?
to your
than
point
you
with
guys.
That's the title of that piece.
oh shit.
Whiskey
Right.
dick.
I lost
Oh,
that
I
one.
like this. I mean, and I don't like this style, but I like this. I love
Wait,
the
where am I
negative
going?
space.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was going to say on that last one real quickly, because Marcus was talking about the rib cage. So back to my point of a light source. You can tell where the light is coming from. It's coming from like upper right. But then look at the chin of the figure, and then there's no cast shadow at all on the rib cage, which makes the rib cage jump out even more, which makes it compete with the hand even more.
Yeah.
So you just
and
have basically like an outline of the bottom of the chin.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think like drop
I-
shadow is one of the things that makes your tattoos pop out the most. Like you should
Yeah.
almost have, if you had a list of things that you should include or check on every one of your tattoos, is like contrast, negative and positive spaces, drop fucking shadow, and some
Right.
other things, and you at least will guarantee 45% success rate.
My calculations.
My
are
calculations.
correct.
Gabe, go back just for a second. I just want to say one more thing about the rib cage, and then I'm also done. If you do like the black and the skin color with a very sharp edge, you have a very sharp edge of black. There's lots of repetitive detail in there. My eye keeps going back there. There's nothing in this tattoo that shows this much contrast and this much repetition. My eye really likes that.
Yeah.
Our brains really like that. Everything else is messy compared to that rib cage. It almost looks like a 50s kind of Elvis microphone. It's really
There's not
poppy.
very much
Absolutely.
space for your eye to take a break and appreciate
No.
the detail.
Yeah,
Zoom.
definitely tone that down. Like tone
The
that way down.
Zoom all the way out and then squint as hard as you can. And there's
Yeah.
only one thing you can make out. That's it.
Yeah.
You're
That's
exactly
the rib
right.
Say
cage.
one last
That's
thing.
the rib cage.
I feel like in pieces like this, and in any piece, and it's because it happened to me for many years. When I was doing black and gray, I didn't understand. Like, you want your black to be the blackest fucking black as the blackest tribal you have ever made. And if you have like big areas, and I would go up to 30% of your tattoo to be like solid black, fading into whatever else, that is gonna pop, make the rest pop. And if you also have like a 30% at least or 40% lightest thing or negative space, it's a formula that works. I feel like people are so scared of black because everybody's scared of black.
Yeah, because it reveals drawing inconsistencies. Like strong contrast reveals everything that you don't know about how light reveals form, right? Like you don't everything that's wrong with the way that you see things will be revealed if you use black first.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit confused about the positioning of the Sith. It feels like he's pointing at you and being like, you got to give me a couple minutes and then I could rearrange the Sith so it's actually in striking distance. Right now it's positioned specifically for the shoulder.
Yeah.
I also have to say, as we for what the tattoo is, if we got rid of the background, it would be so much of a better tattoo.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I feel like it's a lot of work that takes away from what's already been done.
Contrast
I
is
agree.
what this tattoo fails the most. And how many times we said contrast? How many times we got to drink?
We have to drink for
I'm
contrast.
drinking
Yeah, every time
so
we say
much.
contrast, we got to drink twice.
Oh my God, I gotta look up a synonym.
For contrast? Oh,
Yeah.
shoot that up.
This shit's so exciting. We need a thesaurus.
What?
He said this shit's so exciting. We need a thesaurus.
That should be the first drunk critique t-shirts.
Yeah.
I like how this person used negative space or skin tone throughout the piece, you know, like a little bit in the upper jaw, a little bit in that kind of like just in front of the elbow, a little bit in the hand. I mean, there's a lot that could be done to make it stronger, but I like that they were bold enough to leave those big areas.
It definitely has a style.
Yeah,
It's very unique.
Yeah.
The bottom jaw gets lost, and you can definitely see that this tattoo is probably better live. Like the photo is pretty weak.
Yeah.
And you know, like, dude, like after so many years of tattooing, I remember putting so many hours in so many pieces that looked amazing, and then I took the photo and it sucked. Like now we live in the era of information, YouTube tutorials on how to take photos, and like with a very little investment in it, your work can pop out so much.
Yeah.
I will say one thing, although I think this is great and I think it's one of the best I've seen so far, but the straight line to the right underneath the cheekbone, it just goes into a straight line.
Yeah.
I wish there was just a little sway or a little shape to it. It's just a little too straight for me that it becomes a little awkward.
Nobody cares about what you wish. I feel like the skull.
Ate an ass nigga. Look.
Look, I feel like the only thing clear is the skull. Like below that, it gets a little lost. You
I'm
can't-
talking about the skull.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I see both of your points. Yeah, definitely the bottom jaw, it kind of so much starts happening right there. And that's a great example. Like look at the clarity of the upper jaw when the light hits it, and then how the bottom jaw, they tried to start rendering a bunch of crap in it, and it just goes away.
Yeah.
Wait, and I gotta say something. Is that red in there tattooed, or is it a fucking terrible scab?
No,
I was,
that's
I
like a
was,
bullet
I
or
was
something.
that
Bullet
was
hole?
what I was gonna mention, because that thing really annoys me.
What is that?
I mean, if it's tattooed, fuck man, you made it. You totally made me believe
It's
that
the
this guy
worst
got
case
shot.
of ringworm you've ever seen.
I like the blue glow.
You know what I like about it is it kind of like it repeats the orange orb that's in the middle of the arm. It kind of repeats something warm, because this tattoo basically lacks a little bit of color contrast here and there.
Drink
And
twice.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really look finished, but I feel like this looks really cool from far away, but once you zoom in, it kind of looks a little bit. I see a lot of line work. I see a lot of lines, and I feel like that there could be more consistency. There could be a little bit more work put into it. But maybe that's
Number one.
just my resolution.
You're showing my favorite part of it right now as you zoom out, like how he left that kind of. It's not. I mean, when you zoom in on it, it doesn't look great. But when you zoom out, I like the huge chunk of like skin that shoots down to his knuckle. But yeah, Marcus,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with everything that you just said. I also would like to see. I don't know why, but something about having two orange spots kind of bugs me. I'd like to see a third one down by his wrist somewhere. or something.
100%.
Are you into
I was gonna say that
numerology?
too.
Yeah.
Like there's this little black square, and that could have been orange, I think. That would
Right.
have been
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
all in all, again, with a hand, I've done tattoos like that too. It's like the robotic biomechanical tattoos are so fucking hard to pull off in a way that looks cool, and in a way that actually ages well with a person, because they become gimmicky really quickly. It's like, look at me, I'm a robot. Yee. You know,
Yeah.
I have trouble with it. You know, it's like, and then when you have it on your hand, again, you know, it's like once you have a sleeve on, this looks weird.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yep.
Honestly, I feel like this has like really good
So hard to
intentions,
do.
but
yeah.
again, I feel like, and I went through a period of that in my life, but more and more you evolve, and now the competition is higher. You need to be tattooed, unless you're a master of what you do. You need to finish your sketches on your piece of paper or on your iPad. Like I feel like this guy has good ideas here, but he just got the line drawing, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna do it. You know, like I'm just gonna go for it. But then all those decisions he took while tattooing fucked up this tattoo. Like
I don't think it's a fucked up tattoo, man.
No, yeah, I don't either. I don't either. Go back one more second, Gabe. Go
I mean,
one more thing.
but I feel like it's a 7, and it could have been like a 9.
Yeah, I agree. What if though, like as bold as the negative shapes are, like forget about zooming in, like just think about you see them from 20 feet away. What if the shadow shapes had been big, bold blocks, like that shape that's underneath the chin, and then the hole in the
Yeah.
mouth, and then one more. What if they were just solid black? You know what I mean? Like if he had
Although-
Thank you.
simplified the shadow shapes
Yes.
as much as he did the highlights.
Zoom in under the chin because it might actually be solid black, and that glare is just totally
Oh,
fucking
maybe.
it up.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, maybe. Pretty
Yeah,
But
close.
it's patchy as
It is
fuck.
patchy. No, you're right. It's not
Yeah.
solid. I think he had the intention of solid black.
No, but I
You
think
know
that
what?
happens many times when it's in such a big area of tattooing. It takes so long to pack it up that you get scared of like, ooh, I'm not showing off how much texture I can do. But then when
You
you
know,
look at the overall thing, like if you would have done that solid black without thinking, would be so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my biggest gripe with this tattoo is
Nope.
there's the line work is just not there. There's almost no
Yeah.
real line work there. I want to see some thicker lines to clean this thing up because all I see
Completely
is like
agree.
gray lines, really thin lines, and then some of it is not really. If you shade up, if you do like 3 lines, throw out a huge tattoo like that, and then you shade right up to those lines, that's cool. But if you just show a lot of line work like this, it just looks scratchy and it just looks a little bit unprofessional.
I agree.
Clean up-
I agree.
You need to clean up your line work before you play around with all the special effects, you know, and you got the special effects down. This thing looks cool. It looks cool from far away. But once you zoom in, I feel like, man, work on your lines. A lot of biomech tattoo artists kind of like, and I do the same thing. My lines fucking suck. But I shade up to them to hide that, you know, so nobody can see it, you know, so at least do that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I don't know that they have to do it beforehand. Something I've been something that was introduced to me by Casey Ball. I took a workshop from him some years back, and he said, "I'll go back." No, I think it was Casey. He said, "I'll go back at the end of my painting, and I try to decide what if I could only make 3 lines bold, what would they be?" And so I've been doing that in my tattoos. So I might do 5, but I'll let a tattoo heal completely. And then come back and say like, all right, if I only had 5 lines or like 5 areas that I could accentuate, what would I do? And I'll get like a big 13 round shader and just come back and blast through those.
That's really smart.
Like, yeah, does that make make any sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, definitely. I think like line work and tattoos is just so fucking important. Don't skip over that. That's really important. You know, if you want some respect from your peers, especially, you know, but also for yourself, it's just one of the skills that you really, really need.
Yeah.
And even if you're doing biomech stuff, you know, it's still important to know your shit.
It can be accentuated at the end too, for sure. It doesn't have to be at the beginning.
Yeah, there's not really any hard rules to that, but I think when you do that kind of stuff, you know, like doing consistent line work in the tattoo, it just looks so much better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I want to see a photo shoot with this person holding the Nintendo Switch, though.
Oh, sorry, I'm not.
Do we run out of pieces?
I bet it would be seamless.
We didn't run. We got fucking
Seamless with the Game Boy.
20 more.
20 more. Oh, good.
No. You're gonna get me divorced. I'm supposed to eat dinner soon.
We need a key.
I'm already divorced.
European time for Marcus.
Yeah, this is this would be a great exercise in creating space right here.
S. McAndrew.
All right.
This is here's a heel piece of a mama and baby owl on a woman's thigh. Next one's a cover. Yeah.
Right.
I would say on this one, I think it's just my girliness. I think it's cute, but it's so poorly done. It's like the texture is a mess. It doesn't have enough skin showing, and I almost like if it was just an outline. I like the composition. That's what I'm trying to say.
The composition is
good. Nice.
Yeah, I like
the background is nice.
There's like not enough mid-tone gray.
I feel like this is somebody who had like a traditional apprenticeship from a biker, and he's like, "Hey, you do that hard, all of it hard, you punch it." And
no, you're totally right.
You need to have like different sensitivities of punching and lines and all that, and you'll get that. Everything he looks here like it just it just was put in there with violence.
Yeah.
No, you're totally right.
You know, it was an
It's
outlet
like
for
somebody in
things.
conflict. Like they can't figure out whether they're going to be a traditional artist or they're going to be a realistic artist. Like, it's two things just battling it out between each other, and they can't quite nail down where they want to be.
This person has to ask
I mean, and it takes a
themselves,
while
what's
to
the
figure that out. It takes
Yeah,
a while to
but-
figure that out, you know. But that's
but-
what I
but
say.
there's-
Like,
Go
I
ahead.
feel like if you have I feel like a lot of people are like, I want to learn how to tattoo, but I don't know how to draw. I'm like, what are you gonna be doing on people? Drawings. You need to learn that. And even if you know how to draw and you have really poor tattoo technique, those tattoos are gonna still look good, and you can fix them later in life. But I feel like if you're one of those people who are like, no, I just want to learn how to tattoo, line, shading, color, you're gonna struggle with this, and you're gonna tattoo for 15 years, and you're gonna go nowhere. And more, this industry is getting full of like really good people, and you're gonna end up without a job. You know, I feel like you could pull this out in the 90s when you were the only tattoo artist like 20 miles around. Now there's so many good people.
Drawing
I don't-
and
I
art
don't-
is the foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't feel it's bad enough to be that harsh. I'm gonna try and be constructive here.
I'm
for a
drunk,
second.
so I'm harsh.
Yeah,
I know, I know.
There's too much
I know.
texture.
I think that this is a great opportunity for each of us to take a couple of like productive shots at helping this person, because this is a perfect composition. Everyone, I think, individually should go around and say what they think they could do to improve this, and we can help this person for sure.
Right.
So go ahead, Marcus. Keep going. Sorry.
Right. So what bothers me the most is that the background tree is the blackest thing in the whole tattoo.
Yep.
That's the first thing that bothers me. I don't think it needed the tree bark in the foreground, adding a lot of detail, while the feathers and the owls are already so highly detailed. There's a lot of texture already there. You know, when you put, it's like, here's what I would have done. The foreground bark should have been completely black. There could have been a great frame, and then the background trees could have been lighter than anything in the owls. That's the first thing that I would have done. And then there's too much mid-tone grays in there, and they're very inconsistent. And the line work really shows. So you want to shade away from your lines. When you shade, you want to touch your line work. You want to shade right up to the line, so that line turns into an edge. I find that really important, especially on the main shapes. Like the mother owl especially, you can really see a very clear outline around her, and then there's nothing, and then there's the background, and there's a halo on both sides of that line, and that really bothers me.
Now you're making me feel like an asshole for whatever I said before. Thank you.
That's okay.
Dude, you're an asshole no matter what you said
That's
before.
okay. Maybe you're an asshole.
So hey, real quickly, to your point, like for the person, I assume they're watching this. So you just made the point that they left skin tone between the side of the head of the owl and the tree, which is obviously the most dominant shape. Like if you squint, all you see is that tree. So that person should ask themselves, what's more important, the eye or nose or facial features of that owl, or the outside line of that head? Because what you just did by leaving that skin tone is you made the outer edge of that head, which is further back, look like it's the most important piece of that little section of the composition.
Yes.
Yeah. Keep going. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just explaining exactly what you just said, it's like as every line.
I'm glad I'm not the only guy with an accent here.
Every line. You're welcome. Every line has two edges, basically. Germany.
Where you from? Huh?
Germany.
Where you from?
Who has the Arnold soundboard?
I have it built in. That comes with a model. Look at the lowest owl chick next to the mother. That's, I think, where the contrast was actually done really right. Where the owl chick is completely skin color, and then you have a black background, and you don't see any line. You have only an edge, and that's how it should be everywhere, basically. Yeah. So whenever there's too many edges in this tattoo, which makes it really confusing to look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
and textures. And textures.
And well, that's what I mean. All the textures are edges. It's like everything.
Right.
It's just so much information going on, especially in the mother owl, that my eye is darting around the whole time, and it doesn't latch onto anything except the background tree.
We're trying to say
that's the only point of rest in the whole thing, and it shouldn't be. So
I
all in
think
all,
I agree
also
with all
the
that.
line work around the owls, where the solid black tree, they give this little halo around the owls.
Hmm.
And I understand that halo sometimes can be really amazing, but it's usually when you go for a more photorealistic thing. I think that solid black should have gone all the way up to the line, and then that negative space should have been inside of the owl.
Okay, wait. To that,
Yeah.
I say if you leave that halo, that means you should shade the inside of the head so that halo pops out. But
I
if
was just gonna
there's
say that
skin
too.
tone on both sides of the line, it just gets weaker.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
You're talking about the cloud shapes surrounding the head of the owl, the main owl.
No, where the tree is, I
No, the
think.
lines of the owl not being
Yeah.
shapes from the
Yeah,
shading.
right there.
You know?
Yeah, you have to make
okay.
a decision. Once you draw a line, you have to make a decision on which side of the line am I going to be dark and which side of the line am I going to be light. If
Yeah.
you're going to be light on both sides of the line, I call that a floating line, and I really don't like that, especially not
Yeah.
on your main object, because
You
it
can't be-
looks confusing.
Yeah, you
It's a
can't be
design
afraid
weakness.
to let lines go away. Just because there is the end of a shape or a figure, like in this case, an owl, it doesn't mean we have to see the end of the shape all the way around it. And that's one thing that beginning artists forget a lot. They feel like everything needs to have like a definite edge. And the most powerful stuff doesn't have any edges at all a lot of times. You know, you use that to push another area. One thing I was going to say, like going to the moon that's sitting, I think, in front of the clouds for whatever reason. So
I thought it was another bullet hole.
It's a bullet hole, yeah. So if you were to so let's just assume you're looking at the night sky, and obviously the moon or the stars are the brightest things in the night sky, which should tell you that all that cloud shape is darker than that moon. There's no reason that any portion of any of those clouds is as bright as that moon. And also the moon shouldn't like just penetrate the cloud that way. But
Be in
let's
front
let's
of the
pre-
clouds. Yeah.
yeah, let's pretend the moon is up higher and it's actually in the dark part of the sky. It should still be lighter than any part of that cloud shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
That-
I think with the moon, for what they were trying to do, if they could have done a really clean, clear, light gray circle, it could have been really interesting. Like
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah.
Look, if I'm gonna say anything that is gonna be good for anybody who's out there listening to us, because I feel like I'm getting drunker. I'm just gonna try to be fun. Look, all these things we say sound confusing. Like the only real path is like, let's say the next year of your life, if you are gonna invest it in just tattooing or learning how to draw and paint and contrast and color theory and all that, you might be so tempted to just keep tattooing because you're already making 100, 200, 300, 400 bucks a day. But down the road, if you, let's say this quarantine, if you dedicate yourself to really study, and that doesn't mean like, oh, I draw every day, I draw skulls and roses. You're just drawing the same fucking shit. And you post it on Instagram and your friends tell you you're super cool. And then you're like, fine, no, go to the source, learn from schools, tutorials and all that. And then once you understand that, if you fast forward 1 year, you know, in 1 year you'll be making, instead of 400 bucks a day, you could be making 200,000 or 1,500 a day, if that is what moves you, you know. Plus, you're gonna have a
200,000.
much more exciting life.
200,000 a day.
I want to take this opportunity to say that my new rate is 200,000 a day.
200,000 a day.
That's yeah.
That's because that's what I'm thinking.
You're in
After
the
this
jungle, baby.
After this coronavirus and the world is gonna end, I think that's what I'm gonna charge, 200,000 a day. And I know
Yeah,
not
right?
many people is
Fuck it.
gonna pay it, but if just 2 people pay it a year, I'm good.
Amazing.
That's right.
I think we should drink.
Yeah, we
Two
should
hundred
definitely drink
thousand.
Let's
drink.
drink.
Let's
Yes,
drink to our
cheers.
newfound riches.
$12 is gonna go down.
200 grand
I
a
just-
day.
I just have one more thing to say about the owl tattoo.
Yes.
There's like
No,
a
it's
weird
amazing.
movie poster, like Goodfellas, Name of the Rose thing going on with the baby birds, and it's weird.
Wait,
No.
you don't look
Elaborate.
drunk. I don't trust you.
You have to bring it back up. I'll tell you.
I'm trying. I don't
Gabe,
know
whatever
what
you're
I'm
doing, this is amazing. I finally see the faces of my peers.
Hey, Gabe.
Hey
I
guys.
Probably they
see
think
the
I'm just a
faces of my
clown because I
peers.
was on Ink Master. But you know,
He's a clown for other reasons than that. Not that.
Did you bring your gun? Are you gonna shoot?
gun. I have
Yeah.
guns. I have drugs. I have women. I have kids, dogs, cats, swimming pool, and a motorcycle.
Everything is there.
In
And a
his back
motorcycle.
pocket.
I mean, in
I
Colombia, I'm
haven't seen
from
you
here.
guys since Richmond.
Oh, I'm not
Huh?
showing.
Richmond.
Are you from Richmond?
Yeah, I used to work with Jesse.
Oh,
Oh,
I knew her. What up, dear?
How are you?
I love Jesse. Jesse's
He
one of
just
those
had
guys.
a baby.
I want to be him when I grow up,
I know.
but without the stress.
Cute baby.
He's one of the few artists that I know that is a badass fucking artist, a badass businessman, a badass everything. And I'm like, dude, fuck you. You know, every time I fuck up in life, my sister's like, oh, you know, I'm an artist.
I can't be Jesse.
And then Jesse comes. Or Ralph Nunweiler. You know, I had a kid. I opened a shop. I was getting fat. And I was like, you know, I have a kid in a shop. I'm getting fat. And then Ralph Nunweiler walks in with 4 kids. All of them are champions of whatever they do. He has a 6-pack and his body's like a fucking superhero. And he's like super humble. I'm like, dude, fuck you. I need to hang out
Germans.
with people that are like,
It's just Germans, dude.
You need to hang out with the guy, the owl tattoo.
yeah, I need to hang out with people that look up at me. You know, like, that guy drinks, he's cool.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Let's see those owls.
Wait, you want to see the owls
Pull the
again?
owls back up.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I think the owls are
Although,
the
I
owls
gotta
are the
say-
perfect type of
wait, can I
tattoo.
say
The
one more thing
tattoo
about
after-
Jesse?
I want to see the tattoo after the owl. It was dope
That was
It
good.
must be hard
yeah,
to
yeah.
work for Jesse.
in like a silly way.
Yeah.
You said
But
it.
like, this is like a Name of the Rose movie poster. I swear to God.
I want to know what movie that is now.
It's,
It
it's
is?
very
And yo,
old. I'm
if
dating
whoever they
myself, but
paid
yeah.
for that movie poster, they could have hired me.
Whoever
Name
did
of
this
the Rose.
tattoo is like, please don't put that tattoo back up. Oh my god.
Aw.
No. You know, if you want to grow, you gotta
And
put
I
your
have
ego
to
down.
say, I've seen so many people that have a tattoo like this in their portfolio, and they're like, I would never show anyone this, but boom. And you're like, all
Yeah.
right. We all started somewhere, except for these
Yeah,
motherfuckers
yeah.
that come out swinging and fuck them.
Oh, I didn't send you a photo of one of my tattoos, but if you give me a time, I'm gonna go back and look, because I am back home, so I'm seeing tattoos that I did like 24 years ago.
That's the worst when you go back home and you're just
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I was a punk rock kid, just not giving a fuck.
your friends are like,
Yeah.
can you give me a
Oh,
Aw.
Whoa!
Rework.
Punk rock kids not giving a
Nice.
fuck.
I lost
They
track
added-
of
they
Right,
added
right?
a
who this
phoenix.
was, though. I'm sorry to say. So
Did they add a whole new face?
They added a phoenix and a new face and some
That's the
flowers.
wise move with the
And
face.
they made
Look,
the peanuts
honestly,
go
I'm not
away.
even mad at this. This is the shit that like motherfuckers
This
love
is
about it.
This is
awesome.
pretty sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Lisa Frank on fucking PC.
Lisa Frank. Yeah.
You know what I love?
Who's Lisa Frank? You don't know
That
about
horse.
America?
You know what I love about this the most? This horse
a
was
Lisa
fat
Frank
and it had a
shopkeeper?
dick, and it doesn't anymore in the new version.
Oh shit, you're right.
So cool.
We're gonna put a foot.
What
Oh, the
is-
toes are actually pretty
Wow,
cute. Those are
this
cute
is
feet.
so
You mean they
cool.
changed the pronoun?
Wait, what
They
are
changed
they?
the pronoun?
Look, this bitch
Oh.
is tacky, but she's cute.
I'm a little bit. I kind of miss the zebra of the zebra blending with her. Like I think they de-emphasized the original zebra too much.
I love
Yeah,
that they
there were
turned the
definitely
horse.
one
They turned the
before.
horse dick into a foot.
Yeah.
It's like the back.
Yeah,
foot.
and they gave the
It
booty a
didn't-
highlight.
it didn't though. It didn't
see
even.
one.
No, it's
They gave
not.
the booties a
No,
highlight.
it's not.
Is that not
yeah,
true?
where did that go?
Wait, what happened to it? Where zoom? Oh,
Turn-
okay.
turn-
There you
it
go.
turned
It's
into-
right in. It's right in line with the tail thing. And
No,
And
it
also,
turned
can
into
I
grass.
say
I
good
see.
for
They
them
just
for
made it
taking on the
grass.
challenge? You know?
Well, even still, I like it.
So
Something-
glad that
It looked like something I would do when I moved to New York and I was working after hours and somebody would walk 2 a.m. I need to cover this up, and I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it right now.
Oh, they did this on the spot for sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? They had fun because they were like, fuck it, look at this shit.
dude, when I was 12, I was drawing my own porn because there was nothing else.
There you go.
You're
And that's
doing your what?
Porn.
that's what
Out of your head or
Oh,
from
one time
magazines?
I-
Or
I
what?
drew something for like
I'm not gonna
girl
elaborate
figuring
on that. I
herself
think-
in a-
I
Yeah,
already
Raleigh,
regret that
New
I said that.
No more like,
So I'm
what
not
was
going
it,
to
super
elaborate.
bad with all the dicks?
Hey, wait.
Uh-huh.
If you could put that up for our next drunk critique, I'd love to see some of your early porn.
I
work.
don't. There's none of that is. That's not. None of that is around anymore.
I have have to say, technically, this is shit, but this is one of my. I enjoy watching this.
I like how they pulled the blue into the purple of the clouds and then made that a negative like cloud shape. I think the background is really the star of this tattoo.
I mean that and they've got solid anatomy skills.
I mean, that was
good
the
anatomy out
only
of
place
something
they
that
had
was
to
just shit.
shine.
Look, the whole background looks like it's basically colored pencil, and that's probably my biggest gripe with this tattoo is that it really relies
Wait a
on
minute.
color. Wait,
Yeah,
wait.
but come on, that's got to be the strongest part. Look at how they pulled that blue from before into actual negative shapes that pulled into the tattoo. That's got to be the best part of it.
But the shading is not really like everything is very playful. Everything is like, but the green is going right into the blue. There's not really an edge there in the background. It's like there's not a lot of consistency there, and I wish there would be a little bit more black. Are we drinking when somebody says that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Actually, we should check with the chat room.
Hey, Gabe, I think something that you should ask people also
New
is
rule.
that they should say how long they've been tattooing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that makes a difference. I don't want to destroy some 17-year-old kid, like. But
Oh
if
yeah,
you
hopefully everybody knows that we're drunk and full of shit.
No, but
We know what we're talking about, but we're also kind of just drunk and full of shit.
I'm trying to put out as little expectations as possible. Like, I mean,
I will say also for someone to submit this piece of all pieces, I'm
Good for
assuming,
them.
because this is like how the fuck. So I don't know if maybe they haven't had a chance to really explore their own creativity, and they just for whatever reason like this like freak weird style, because you can tell that they vibe with it, And which
it's a great rework.
Yeah, like get some work. Maybe if this is just like your style, go that route, but clean it up. But I will say you were starting from shit and you made it into something.
Yeah, I mean, I would look
started
at that
from the
now.
bottom. Now we're here.
It's a vast improvement.
I'm going to say
from
one
the bottom. I would have made those flowers more like now that I like the flowers. I wish that they were like more interactive with the piece and maybe even like harder lines or stronger highlights. Like, I wish the flowers were.
If you go to some
more.
like cookout barbecue and you see some auntie with this shit, you're gonna be like, I'm having a drink with you, girl.
Good point.
Her nephew's friends. I'm gonna get us some water on that.
I'm gonna say,
I feel like this is
so you guys are not
say a couple
jealous
of productive
about my
things.
I'm getting beat up by the mosquitoes.
Okay, is it time to take a break?
I want to say
break?
no. I want to say a couple of productive things about this. Bring that back.
Oh my god!
By the way, what are you doing?
Wrong way. What are you doing?
Oh no! Okay.
Now I know what to say about everything.
Fuck! Now I forgot everything I wanted to say.
We just cheated.
Okay, no, that back foot needs to be completely black. No light is going there. The belly is too big.
Yeah.
Make all your lines disappear. Turn them all into edges. It's too liney. These lines are all too thin. There's no reason why the shadow on the neck of that horse, right, between the blue and that dark shading exactly there. There's no reason why I need to see that line there. Make that go away. Like wherever you can, get rid of your lines. Like the ass of that horse, make that line go away. It doesn't need to be there. All these
But I feel
lines.
like in a cover-up, that's so difficult to pull out. Because
you just shade right up
try
to
to
the
do things
black.
like
It makes
that.
it easier.
This is a big ass.
Easier.
Yeah, because it's softened up so much, it's already become shapes versus line.
It makes it way easier. You just pull the black up right to the line and you're good to go. You don't need all that bounce light up on the ass of that horse. It's like, especially, it makes, like, if you're not that good at drawing lines, it makes your lines not look as shitty. It makes them look cleaner if you just pull your shading right up to the line, and maybe use a little bit of a bigger liner, because these tiny fine line things, I don't know, that looks so dated.
This is the same artist.
You should be part of the Fireside Tattoo Network. I love your ideas on edges and lines, Marcus.
Thank you.
We should work together more. We've never met, but
to your point,
that exact same thing on all of our foundation videos, our Find Your Style stuff, everything. It's like people get so caught up in how crisp their lines are. They get so tattooy with everything that they do. It's just like, man, that's one of the least important things until it's important. Just figure out what's important about lines. But 90% of tattoos have nothing to do with lines. They have to do with how people perceive.
That's why 70% of your time should be spent on paper or iPad, and then
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm going to say one thing about lines.
I want to say something after you.
Cultural problem. The culture of tattooing has said that we need to know what a solid line is. We need to know what a solid shade is. We need to know what a solid whip is. But when we go into actually really involved composition, none of those things are the forefront. That lineage, that hierarchy of thought just isn't necessary anymore. And it's more important that we chop it up. But like in a tattoo like that, like we're still fixated on the idea that I need to show that I made a good line. You know what I mean? Like both sides of the line is suddenly important. We don't think about the fact that
that's the thing.
Two sides and a center that is filled in. We're thinking about the fact that I need to show somebody that I could pull my hand from left to right really quickly. Yeah. And suddenly it's a really pretty line. Well, now I can't shade up to it.
It's more about
you
the
should
dick
absolutely
swinging
be sitting in
contest,
that red velvet chair behind you.
You're gonna have was earlier, but I fucked it all up.
You make Joe. You make a great point, but and the problem is, and what I do a bunch with Fireside is we try to walk that line between we spend a lot of time. We go to the Portrait Society of America. We go to plein air conventions, but we're a tattoo show. We're a tattoo like education network. But the thing that I noticed that tattooers do that no one else does is get so caught up in the technical part. They're so eager to please other tattooers. Whereas if you take the best like portrait painters, if you look at David Casson, or you look at like Jeff Hine or Kwang Ho or any of these guys, they're not trying to impress other portrait artists with their technical ability. They're trying to make things look as believable as they can. And tattooers, for whatever reason, we get too caught up in impressing each other with our technical ability.
I think that's part of the way, though. That's part of the road to where you have to go. I mean, you always need a reason.
But do you
to
have to
yourself.
go there? I mean,
you don't
have to
impress each other.
You need to know that.
You don't think
there is a disconnect in the art world between the art world and the tattoo
and
world.
it's what separates us from
it's about
them.
It's about peer review, right? It's a little bit about peer review, and you want to impress your peers, and that is important at some point, because look what we are doing. We're doing critiques, right? So there's people that want to impress others that are on a higher echelon maybe, and they want to show like, look what I can do. And that's part of the road to where you want to be. But at some point, it's important to step away from that and actually make yourself happy. In the end of, I want to say one more thing about lines and edges. I think like the more edges you have in any picture, it doesn't matter if it's a tattoo or an illustration, it really doesn't matter. The more edges you have, the more confusing the whole thing gets. And when you don't shade up to a line, every line has two edges, has two sides, and you can cut 50% of your edges off in any tattoo if you shade right up to the line. And I feel like in all the tattoos that we've reviewed today, this has been a very consistent thing that we kept on saying. It's like there's too much line stuff showing. There's not enough edges, like shade up to the line. That's something that people don't seem to be doing enough. And I want to see that more. Turn your lines into edges.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're drinking? You make too much sense.
He makes a lot of sense. Yeah, he's not.
No, I think it's a volume
versus.
Plus, it's like 2 in the morning where he is.
In graphic design, in like poster art, it's heavily emphasized on the line work because it's part of the printing process, and it makes sense in certain, art forms for there to be heavy line weight, and in drawing. But yeah, the form should trump that, and if your tattooing is supposed to be realistic, it should be more based on the form and the volume, not the line.
I agree, but my original point was if I'm too concerned with one of you guys being convinced that I'm good at pulling lines, then that idea of me pulling a solid line becomes more important than the tattoo itself. Yeah, and that's what happens in tattooing constantly. I see it all the time. Yeah.
My point was that is a good incentive to become good at pulling lines, But then once you're good at pulling lines, you can move ahead and actually make that thing like into something that is more solid.
But
But it's a good
what I
incentive to
mean.
become good at lines, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. You should walk the path of the artist. Forget about tattoos, and then whatever technique you know about tattoos, translate what you do outside tattoos into the skin. Because if you just follow the path of the apprenticeship and tattoos and do finger waves and do dragons and all that, it's going to be very hard to get out of it. You know,
There's
'cause
so much
you're gonna be so
pushback,
scared
though.
of.
You know, there's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure from other tattooers.
I
to
don't know if I
conform.
agree with that, not necessarily. I think
I
it's
feel like
really
we're in a
important to get
different
the
time.
technique right. You need to get the technique right first,
Yeah, no, totally.
and then you concentrate on the art. But I think, and that's what makes tattooing so challenging, because you need to be good at both.
Yeah,
I
but
agree.
that's, I mean, man, Mark, I think that's an oversimplification, because people find their own technique as they solve problems in their own way. And the thing that I don't know when you started tattooing, but I know you're real good. I know it was a long time ago. When I started tattooing, I felt like the technique was so important that I couldn't express myself in any way. And nowadays, like, I remember a guy that started apprenticing with me that hatched all of his lines. He was uncomfortable going from A to B. So he hatched lines. And I remember him just getting bombarded with our mentor, like telling him, like, you can't hatch lines. You have to go from A to B. Well, he was never good at that. And if I look at his work now, he's been tattooing for 25 years, I guess. And he's solid. He doesn't do solid lines. He found a way to hatch his way to being a good tattooer. You know what I mean? So it's like you get the idea of like being good. Yeah. So the idea of being good at technique based on someone else's idea of what that technique is can limit you. And I'm not saying you're wrong and I'm right. I'm just saying that's the problem.
No, I totally get it.
But that's also the
I totally
beauty
get it, because I do the same thing.
No, but that's also the beauty of like today. We can find artists that we relate to, artists that we kind of want to mimic their style, and you go that route because you can't compare fucking apples to oranges. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know, some people, that line work is what you go to them for, and then other people, that expression of lighting is what you go to them for. You know, and it's also important to stay true to who you are and what excites you to really go down that avenue of finding yourself.
Look,
Go.
But it's a juggling act early on, though.
Yeah, one thing that has made me
But also when
better,
you're trying to-
one thing that's made me better at doing lines and actually doing heavy black and shading up to my lines was trying to impress people that I found really hard to impress, because I was doing mostly Biomech back then. And I tried to impress people that were doing mostly traditional stuff, because those were the people I tried to impress. And then I just
like
got better.
Life teaches us over and over that the
I
focus
just
should be
got better at,
people.
but I got better at
Express
stuff that I
yourself
didn't feel
genuinely.
is that important for my work. But in doing that, I really surprised myself with my style becoming something that I didn't know it was going to be. Because how do you find your style, right? Like, you find your style in doing and exploring stuff that you don't really...
Being curious, that's how you find it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
agree with that. Yeah.
This is back in like 98. I was doing this super complicated back piece when stencils were like handmade, no thermofax, only 2 tattoo machines. And I started like outlining the whole thing, but it was black and gray. And I remember, I'm first generation of tattoo artists in my country. I didn't learn from anybody. And I remember it just crossed my mind, what if I gray line this? And I remember I felt like I was cheating. And I told this guy to please don't show this back piece to anybody until we were finished. And he showed it to someone and I felt like I was cheating. And now I gray line and blood line in every tattoo
100%.
I do.
Gray line
Yeah.
in
The
the
end is the
90s.
result.
Yes. Relatable.
100%. I do the
You're a
same
cheater.
shit. I don't
You're a
care.
cheater.
Yeah, I don't care anymore.
Oh,
There's
nothing
definitely the
wrong with
part of your life in your career where you care very much what other people think about you and your technical skills, and then at some point you surpass that, and then it doesn't matter anymore, and that's when you reach another level. But
Yeah,
you
but
know,
you gotta
I think-
surpass that by conquering the technique.
yeah, absolutely. That's my point. Yeah.
Like I can do a bold line if I have to. I can do solely if I have to. But that doesn't mean that everything has to be a bold line.
Yeah,
or
but then
anything.
you know
coming-
that what's best for your tattoo and what you need to do, and then you just do that.
We're
And you don't
coming
care.
from a generation that like had to build off of those foundationals too, where like you see people now who are excelling at whatever their style is, they probably have none of that. You know, they can't necessarily pull every style.
which fuels the
come-
fire
come
for people who have been tattooing so long. Like, to your point, Thea, like there are people now that didn't have the same restrictions that we had.
Right.
And you see them and they're better than us. You know, you're like,
At
oh,
what they
shit,
do,
why
right.
did and
But
so that's something that we deal with so often, and like dealing with people back and forth on our with our podcast stuff is like they they have a mentor that has an idea on how something should be done, and then they follow someone who does a live story every day that does something completely different than what their mentor thinks they should do, and then they ask me which one is right. But that's the problem, you know.
It is.
No,
Yeah, but then
you know,
you're kind of-
the
but you're kind
best
of
thing you
born
can
in a
do for
pigeonhole.
tattooing today is charge $200,000 a day. Your
$200,000.
It's the path
Drink.
forward.
Everybody drink on the
200,000.
For every 200
Honestly,
grand we make, we drink.
for the record, we haven't had a group cheers.
Oh,
Wait, hold
that's
on.
fucking right.
We're bringing in
That's because I came in late. Melody came in late.
Yeah. We all came in at different
This
times.
is always the
So-
same.
So
You guys
Wait,
hung
hold
out,
on a
got
second. I'm bringing
suntans.
somebody in.
wait.
Huh?
Who are you bringing in?
We're bringing in Markus Lenhard from Needle Jig. He's a good friend of mine and a 20-plus year tattooer.
All right.
Awesome.
I drive up there twice. What, Mark?
Instantly cheer. Mark,
yeah.
You got a
Cheers,
drink,
Mark.
Mark?
Salud.
you better be drunk already.
Yeah, we haven't seen Mark.
Because
yet.
everybody else is.
Hey,
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh, you're drinking. I thought you were not drinking.
Oh, we're all drinking.
Oh, drinking.
I haven't seen Mark yet. Where is he?
He's on the
Can
bottom.
we
Mark,
just
can
talk
you
about
turn your
these
camera?
motherfuckers that have been tattooing for like 6 months and are absolutely amazing?
Say
Yeah,
It
but
it.
you
hurts
kind of-
my soul.
Mark, you have to turn your. Oh,
It
Mark,
hurts
your
my
mic is
soul, like
off.
the-
I know, you know, they've never like worked in the shop hustling and just
Your mic.
trying to like pay their rent.
mic.
No, they
Yeah,
just
I had
tattoo.
so
Yeah,
many
but-
grand
I know.
ideas
They had a
when
great
I
apprenticeship
started,
and they're
then
really
never
badass.
Sorry,
got
everybody,
going. I
there's
couldn't do those yet.
It's
Technical
really
difficulties. Time
He's
to
got
do-
it. There he
Oh,
is.
I saw him. I saw him.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
What's
yeah, we see
All
you.
right. Hey, guys.
Hey,
How,
Oh, he's got the cool chair.
on a scale of 1 to 10, how drunk are you right now, Mark?
Just took my first sip of scotch, man. I just
Yes,
got home,
catching up to do.
had dinner with the wife, and sat down, did a little bit of work, and Gabe texted me. So
I'm not gonna lie,
Cheers,
that
sir.
was the wrong word.
You got a long ways to go.
you
All
right. So bad.
Mark, can
Hey,
you,
Tom.
that's on here and shit.
can you move your camera horizontal, Mark? Ah,
is that better?
Perfect. Perfect.
Hey, are we out of tattoos to critique, or
we're not
are
even
we just
close
like-
to out of tattoos to
No,
cover.
I
bring it.
saw
Let's
back
do
piece
this.
with,
You
like,
might
2
have your
male
dinner
characters.
delivered.
I used
You might take a
love
break.
those.
Yeah, let's do it. Come on. This dog is farting so bad, and I have really
Yeah.
trouble.
Oh,
Rapid
I
fire.
thought-
Let's
I
do
thought
this.
someone had fallen
Oh my God.
asleep.
Yeah,
and it's
you.
your dog that's been breathing the whole time.
Oh my God. Is it?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
you hear it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can hear it. I've been hearing it the whole time.
I can't
This
hear it.
is
This
snoring?
fucking headphones are noise canceling.
Yes, the snoring is beautiful. Like,
Aw.
dude, I've been sitting
Yeah.
here going,
All right,
Somebody
guys. Let
dozed
me.
off.
I don't want to look at my own.
We're
damn
just
snoring
face.
and farting.
How do I see you guys?
Snoring and farting.
Oh, hold on. Mark, you got to click the buttons.
Gabe
All right.
left.
All of the buttons.
And then when you're done clicking the buttons, we have to do an introduction proper.
Bro, I'm about to have an epileptic seizure.
I don't know.
You
what
guys look
buttons to
so
click.
tanned. It looks like
All
you've
right.
just been hanging out on the beach the whole.
I don't even
Yeah.
want to tell you what my daily life is because
I
Yeah,
don't
let's
wanna
hear
know.
about it.
I don't want to.
I want to know.
I don't like it.
No, let's hear it, Lalo.
Huh?
What do you
No,
do
no,
every day?
nobody wants to hear
I
it.
drop my
actually,
kids
yeah,
to
let's
school
let's
with
do a
friends.
go around. Let's see what everybody's daily life has been.
Nobody cares. I tan all day. That's all.
I can tell. You guys feel like your eyes glow, your teeth glow. You all look beautiful. It's crazy.
I know it's the
It's
end
no-
of the world, so we might as well have fun.
You guys look beautiful as well. I'm so happy to be
Sounds so
seeing
tired.
other tattoo artists.
What's gonna happen to tattooing after
Let's talk,
this?
let's talk about some conspiracy
No,
shit.
no, but-
Let's talk
Oh,
about
No,
No.
no,
Trump
no.
conspiracy is
No.
coming in the
No, no,
future,
no
but it's not
conspiracy,
tonight.
What is gonna happen to tattooing? I feel like a lot
We're
of
about to
people
become
think-
farmers.
YouTube farmers.
YouTube farmers.
Everybody's
farming.
going to start working
I don't
from
know what
home.
that
No more
means.
studios.
No more studios.
No more studios.
studios.
Bullshit. Nobody needs it. Everybody
Just
starts tattooing
tattooing
from
on the
home.
beach.
It's like this one.
The Matrix.
Mark, did you figure the camera out?
Oh my God! But the gossip
Sort
that
of.
happens in tattoo
Okay,
studios,
I'm
the
going
shit
to
talking,
pin you
so
to the
good.
screen to give you an introduction. So, Mark, let us know who you are and what you're drinking.
My name is Mark Lascarbo. I own Needle Jig Tattoo Supply, and I am drinking a Yamazaki single malt scotch that set the world on fire and pissed off the whole scotch community.
Perfect.
Perfecto.
Why?
That's
Wait.
awesome.
What happened that made it piss off the Scotch community?
It's Japanese.
The Japanese won the goddamn competition.
Okay.
It's
Gotcha.
never happened
Right.
before.
Hey.
I think I have some of
I'm
that
not
too.
surprised.
Right.
Just gotta wait for the made in China scotch now.
Do it.
Me?
Not the same.
Keeping notes.
I gotta find something to do with my phone. I'm tired of hodling it.
That's cute.
Wait, you
Contrast.
skipped over the
I
back
like
piece
that.
we were
Contrast.
looking at. This is nice. Yeah.
The back.
This is great. Like, it is what it is. I'm sure she loves it. It's super impressive. It's simple. It doesn't have to be over the top, like eyes with reflective light staring right at you.
But I would say if this
Look at those
tattoo
tits.
was like those areas underneath the arm and all that are like 80% black, if they were solid black,
Yes.
this tattoo would be so strong.
But look, it makes
Drink.
the coochie
All right.
stand out so much more.
Yeah.
Pivotal.
Okay,
Right.
so
How
yeah,
do
let's-
I like the
this
pepper
tattoo?
shading on it.
Yeah.
I do too. This is a beautiful tattoo. So but that's a good point. Like if you're thinking about longevity, if you're thinking about 10 years down the road, if the bottom parts of the arms were solid black, then the cast shadows from the boobs would be black, and you might do something under the kneecap that was black, and then you would like punch it up a little bit more.
I think just around the
But not even
peripheral
10
outline,
years
you
down the
could
road,
need
I think
some
it could be
black.
too much.
Not under the boobs.
Yeah,
The boobs
because
are out
it
there.
has the solid black
No,
line all the way
no.
around. Like, I think it's nice. It's a matter of taste at that point.
I
No.
agree.
I
Yeah.
think
Lower
you
the-
can
And it's
intensify
on
the
a girl. She
shadow
wants it
shapes all
soft and nice. I
across.
like
No,
it.
but even
Yeah, you're right. This is fine.
even if everything is soft, even if you're gonna tattoo a white lotus, there's something that is called, I forget the name, like where the two petals overlap and the sun is shining, it's gonna be solid black, even if it's just 10%.
This
And that's
does
what
have some solid black.
yeah, but not in
Yeah, but only in the crotch.
So
That's
look at
the
it
only
this.
part.
It
that is
needs more
solid
black
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
you're
top
right.
half.
Right.
I do like my
Absolutely.
crotches shaped.
Needs
I
more
know it's
camel
all
like my
toe.
crotch
it's
is
all
shaded.
muff.
I like
No,
a
but
dark crotch. I love a dark boob.
Yeah, I like it. I like a dark crotch too. And like
This is a
This,
beautiful tattoo.
tattooer
I
is-
I
like
think it's
crotch.
fine.
Ellen Geiselman. She's 24, works in DC, and has been tattooing for 2 years.
oh, it's a
awesome.
baby.
Not
That's really
bad.
good.
Oh, great.
That's really
beautiful,
fucking good for
I-
2 years.
I've
I'm not
been-
going to
I
say
think if she
anything. This
likes
is
this
fucking great.
style, run with
Yeah.
it, go with
It's
it, make
beautiful.
your own splash, and
Buddy,
you
you
can
gotta go
really
down here.
create
You've
your own
heard too much.
your own thing off of this.
Nobody knows.
Sorry.
Just use your full scale from black to white in the entire tattoo.
Yeah.
I've been
You know
tattooing
what,
longer than
honestly-
you've been alive, and you're better than me, so that's good.
You know, honestly,
No,
2 years
no.
in, I don't think
Cheers.
she needs any critique. Like, give her another 2 years and she's got this down. She's on a good path.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
like
I mean,
everything from
technically,
this
it's
People,
one
like-
is
people
just
who are
raw
2 years in
content.
and are this
It's
good,
just,
they don't really need any critique.
It's
I'll say
dedicated
this.
to the ideals that are art, and you're good. Tattooing is fine. You're good.
There's not enough scotch on this planet to make me do stipple work.
But you know what? This is not. I mean, like I've been playing with this a lot. I love like really well done stipple tattoos, and I've found this. I tattooed. I had a booth mate at a convention last year before we quit doing tattoo conventions. That just slowed. They had she had a one of those Dan Cuban sidewinder tattoos machines, and she was like slowing it down to 2.5 volts. She had to like kickstart it, like pop it. And then you can just like move that thing as fast as you want, and it looks like you stippled it, but you didn't stipple it at all. It's like
Yeah,
perfectly
does
spilled.
anybody actually stipple stuff at this point?
Somebody
I do,
does,
but
Really?
I combo it.
I combo it too.
Yeah.
You do a bit of both. Neither looks great on the skin,
yeah,
but if you combo the two, they work just fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
No,
agree
there's
with that.
People, their style is to stipple, and it's beautiful if they do it right. And I do it sometimes when I want contrast of like types of shading. You know, I do a lot of collage stuff, and I want some things to look basic and traditional, and some things like super well rendered and smooth. And I think stippling is a really great tool of texture.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
texture is
agree.
the key word too. Like everything comes down to how can I break up the way light is hitting this. Tattoos are always going to age and deteriorate, but if you can create texture, the deterioration makes more compelling image. It's beautiful.
And one of the things is like we always talk about contrast, and everybody thinks it's just a matter of black and white.
Holy
but
shit,
there's
that's 3
contrast of
drinks.
texture.
Oh,
What is that?
beer.
Textured
Shit.
3 drinks. One for me.
Oh my god.
I'm out.
Gabe, call Jesse.
Well, I'll say for this one, I think the back
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah,
hand
call
could have
Jesse.
just been blacked out damn near.
Say it
You know
again.
what?
Meet
This
the
one.
thumb, the meaty part.
This
I'll tell you
tattoo
what
actually
sticks out
has
to me.
exactly what we've been talking about all the time. All the lines are turned into
Yeah.
edges, and I really like it.
This
There's
is
just a
a piece,
couple of
yeah.
lines that are not,
Fantastic.
and it's just like 10% of the lines are not edges, and that's totally fine.
Okay, but I agree with that. But look, squint just a little bit and just picture that the 3 like main knuckles on the bottom side of the tattoo, not the knuckles closest to the fingernails, the 3 knuckles were
Oh,
just like 10% darker, 20% darker. Then suddenly the hand, like what keeps jumping out to me is that I'm looking at like the knuckles that are furthest away from me, and they have the strongest contrast. So if you just took a second pass on this and blasted from like the second knuckle to the third knuckle, just went through with a quick peppering and like darkened it where it wasn't skin tone, then it would this would be awesome. And then you might do that again behind the palm.
But you mean the knuckles like
I didn't hear anything after blasting from the first knuckle to the second
So,
knuckle.
so like you're honestly, like you're
That's what
completely
she
right.
said.
I'm 12 years old.
That's always
finger-
strong advice.
Each finger is a plane. Like I didn't notice it before, but like every finger is a plane. You don't have a separation from each joint.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if the knuckle where it actually bends was the highlight and everything that went back from there got darker, then those 3 fingers, like the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky finger, wouldn't look so flat. And you would, I think that would make this a great. I mean, it's a real.
We
solid
listen to
tattoo.
all
I
your
like it.
communications, every one of them, and so does the government.
What did you say?
Oh no! What?
But the
Sorry,
shit
it was,
just
We're
happened.
getting into conspiracy theories.
No, that's not
No.
conspiracy theory.
That's not.
What
That's
bugs
not.
me about this, there's
That's
like
fact.
a little bit of proportional differentiation between like the index or the middle rather, and then the other 2 that's like kind of wildly, the range from like the middle
Yeah.
nail to the pinky is
yeah.
like pretty large,
hand-
and I don't love the termination of the wrist. Like there's just
I
the
don't either.
line
I
at
don't
the
either.
bottom is a little bit like weird
Yeah.
shape.
Anatomically, there's
I feel
some
like
things
it's
wrong,
not so
but
bad,
you could get over it if you
but
could
this
just drop
tattoo has
that.
no balls. Like she didn't take wrist.
I feel like the base of the palm,
could be
the part in the back should be damn near black, if not solid black, and it
Yeah.
would just make it so much more interesting.
Yeah.
And
I
on
think
the left,
I think you
really
need to
make it more
fabricate
graphic and dope.
I think some additional shading needs to be fabricated in the forearm because it just looks blank white to me. If I
And
zoom
also
if
you
I
gotta
zoom
look
all the
at
way
these designs.
out, it's just
Oh yeah, and you definitely
You
You gotta
shouldn't
look at
outline
these
the
designs from far
bottom
away
side of
and
it.
balance
Yeah.
the blacks out.
Yeah,
If
it's
you have
the
such a
to me
solid
the
black on
bottom
top, you
line
need
is
solid
Yeah,
black
the
on
bottom
top.
line was a mistake for sure.
if
So-
it faded off to nothing, it'd be a whole lot better.
Yeah, the bottom line
I
bothers me
agree.
too.
Yep. Yeah.
Looks like
And
a
I'm glad
baby.
we're all so good at tattooing and everyone else is so bad.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
There's a reason I
Yeah,
sell
great.
supplies.
For the record, the bottom
no.
line on the tattoo.
Gabe, you should do an episode where we critique our own tattoos. I talk so much shit about
Oh, I
it.
thought we were doing that.
We're gonna do
I
that.
think we are.
So
Gabe wrote me into sending in all my oldest tattoos, and he told you guys to send in brand new tattoos.
You know
yeah.
what? Gabe, I'm gonna send you a brand new one of
No,
mine.
no,
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't sent shit.
So
So
I like
go
this
on,
one
go
right here.
Facebook
This is
best.
good.
this is great.
This is a beautiful
Wait,
tattoo
beautiful.
right here.
Yeah,
If I
you know,
can double
to what
back
we were
to the
talking
last
about
one.
those fingers, I think the power of just empty skin is so strong. Sometimes we try to do those very light shadings to do subtle shadings, and it look better before we do them. You know, like if you look at the next tattoo, he just left like wherever the light is hitting completely white or skin, and it's so powerful. You know, and I know if I was tattooing that, I would be so tempted to go with like a 6% shade and do a little shading, and then it wouldn't be as powerful.
The
You're
next
very
tattoo
specific
is,
on your percentages, I've noticed.
yeah, you are very specific. The next tattoo is exactly what, no line work. Like it's got all shape. It's all.
Took that photo.
Yeah,
It's all
I love
volume.
this tattoo.
All
man.
shape.
That's,
Yeah.
this is a powerful tattoo. I love it.
Yeah, that works.
Phenylalexy, the
Yeah, man.
multiple viewer and chat room participant.
Yeah, this person's a lot better than me.
The rest.
Same.
How long he's been tattooing, or she?
They'll tell us,
This
but it
is
takes a delay.
everything
Have a
about
drink.
shading away from the line, like this
Yeah,
tattoo
yeah.
exemplifies.
Absolutely, man. This is what a great example. There's not a line in this tattoo, but it's so stark. Like everything works. It's like that cast shadow from the forearm across the chest or whatever is so powerful. But it yeah, this is beautiful.
I think maybe my only critique, like solid critique about this, would be that it's such a great piece and it's completely healed that it would be worth doing an absolute photo shoot with this piece.
Yeah,
because it could go viral.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's
Maybe
amazing.
a little session of just black. In
Yeah,
very
well,
few
that's I
We
places.
could
can't tell
punch
if
up
it's
some
dry
black.
There's
skin.
gotta
Yeah.
be a fucking drink.
What's the name of
It could be dry skin. It could be photo lighting, but
I
Whenever
think
you
it's-
take a healed photo, it always looks
Yeah.
washed out.
yeah, if there was absolute black in 10% of the areas, it would be flawless.
Hey, you're using percents.
So-
That's my thing.
So just like squint down on this and think about how they only left skin tone in the belly of the whatever the folds of the fabric. Everything up on the everything from the belly to like the head is shaded in some way outside of where the strong points of light are. And that's a really great that person really understands subtlety in value and in how light really reveals form.
Yeah.
And they obviously pushed it a little bit, or else they would have probably like made some stronger light on the rib cage or something that's not there at all. But
There's no white ink. This is
yeah,
skin
no, it's
tone.
all
Yeah.
skin
There's no
tone.
white
This
ink.
is-
Need it.
Yeah, this is
And
beautiful.
Yeah.
it's so hard to
Point.
get the sense of bounce light coming up from on the underside of the arm. It's so hard to do that in black and gray.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
Like the
Yep.
core shadow is there. It's so
Mhm.
hard to like really
Yeah.
think about. That's
Can
really
we zoom
advanced.
into the eyes?
Yeah.
A little weak.
The
Oh,
the
that's
anatomy is really clear on it too, just
Yeah.
from the
I
shape.
kind of like. I like the. There's a little absentness in the eyes, but I kind of like it. I feel like you could have punched it up more, but I like that there's a bit of abstractness
No,
to
but,
it.
but
I
with
do
that
too,
light-
man.
with
I don't
that
wanna-
light,
I don't wanna
the
see
top
any
of
more in the
the
eyes. I
shadow
like it.
above the pupil should be like as dark as the pupil. Like
Yeah, but
the
you,
pupil
But
should
it's,
get
but it's
lost on
healed. This is a
but
healed tattoo.
it looks so
though.
good now. You almost don't want to touch it and fuck it
Yeah,
up.
Yeah.
this is healed.
Yeah.
And I'm also
Because
really,
sometimes
I'm also
things
really
can be
happy
so
that this
perfect
is a
that it looks
healed
like a
tattoo.
printer, but this has the touch of a human being to it also, which I
Yeah.
think is beautiful.
Absolutely,
And
I
I
agree.
think
So
also
look-
the background is super interesting because it's simple, but it's interesting,
Yeah,
I
I
know,
agree.
which is
man.
Just
great.
right
I
amount of
agree.
texture without
You know
being too much to
Can
overpower
you
the
can
face.
you zoom in on like the abdomen and the elbow? Because that's a really tricky
Yeah.
area to render properly,
And
and it's
that-
really well done.
And
Oh,
I
wow,
don't know
yeah.
who was just talking about it, but they were talking about reflected light and the way that they handled the reflected light on the bottom side of that arm being dark
Mhm.
enough. Like, how tempted would you be just to make that a little bit brighter, and then it would have been distractive? I mean,
Right?
yeah,
Right.
I think this person nailed it. It's beautiful.
They
And
did.
even that
This
that
seems to be a
little
person that
bit
really
of
knows how to take his time or her time to
Yeah.
actually look at that stuff and go back and look at it again and actually work in layers. And this
is
is
that
a
a
very,
wing
very
in the
good tattoo.
background?
Very good.
I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
I think
love
so,
That,
yeah.
that
Look at that.
lighter
Just how like that outer edge of the hip is catching light, and then the little bit of like darkness. Why can't you guys see where I'm pointing? You should. Gabe, you gotta
You
fix
asked
this
that
up.
last time.
Like the
Beautiful.
reflective light in the hip, and then how they just kind of pulled the folds of the fabric out just enough to see that they covered, that they like rounded the hip a little bit. That's beautiful. It's so good.
You know, like I feel like it's so easy in pieces like this to get lost in mid zones, and this guy or girl left so much open, and you can tell this is the perfect example of what I'm saying. Like there could be so many technical critiques to it, but I feel like this person understands light and shadow, and it just looks good.
And how the highlight of the hair leaks into the highlight of the face. They didn't bother to do any line between. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Hey, Ripley, look at
I
this.
completely agree with that. The only thing about this that's truly that fucks with me is I want to know what the other side of the arm looks like. You know what I mean? Like this side is so perfect, and they've thought of so many things. I'm so curious of what the rest of the arm looks like.
What are you talking about? Like the forearm? You see the forearm, and you want to see the back side of it.
And that's not a. I'm not saying anything negative against what they made. It's beautiful, and I'm so curious of what is beyond that.
You know what?
Leaving you wanting more.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a compliment more than anything else.
One thing that I find really annoying is that I can't find anything that I find really annoying, and that's the first tattoo in this whole fucking thing that. Where I have hey, Gabe, who?
Yeah, who
I
is
like the
that?
panther.
Who is this?
This is Fanel Alexei, and I agree. There, every once in a while, there's a tattoo that makes me want to own a shop again. And
Yeah.
oh, man.
I tell you, I mean, and I think Thea said it early on, like the fact that they've made so much interest in the background, but it's not disruptive.
Yes.
I struggle with that, man. I struggle so hard with what they pulled off.
Yeah,
like if I were to try to pull off that background, it would just like I would catch light too hard or something, and it would compete with the light that's hitting the top of the head and the cheeks and stuff. I struggle with that, and they nailed it. It's really, really good.
Some people tattoo really light, and they can just keep layers and just put in layers and layers, and it's like, it needs to be a little bit darker. Let's go over it again without fucking up the skin.
Right.
That's a
How many
skill too.
hours do you guys think this took?
Oh god.
Four or five.
4.
You think?
It would take. It would be 20 for
I
me.
would say 12 to 20.
Yeah.
I think more like 10. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just fucking around.
Fanel will tell
I
us.
don't know, maybe 8, maybe.
I
But,
honestly
I would
feel
say
like
10.
this person
Maybe two.
is not a very experienced tattoo artist, but he's better on paper. Yeah, I want to see that. Bud
I loved
Spencer.
it. Is this the same person?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
This is
I
great.
thought so.
Great.
I
This
thought
is
so.
fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
And
person's
good
got
for
it.
them for
Perfect.
They
getting
have an
such
eye.
great heel
Drink
photos.
again. Contrast.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
the
is
photos
Yeah.
are better, but one
Well,
reference.
we're
The
talking about
contrast.
atmospheric perspective is on point here. Like
That
it's so
background is the bomb.
it's so easy to try to render those bottles perfect, and like you just want to show off on every bottle, and just hinting them is great.
Dude,
Yeah,
the
because
show
I
off
love
is
the eyes
perfect.
because it's
Yeah,
so
they
well, they're not super rendered,
show
but
off
they're
is a
so
great word
expressive.
because, god damn, like everybody wants to show how badass they are in tattooing. There's so many giant sections of space that are just nonsense. It's just a subtle gradation, but that's what makes it fantastic. They didn't go out of their fucking boundaries and try to over render something. They just
Can I say that I love the background says drinks are only faux unarmed customers, not for faux.
I think it's
It
probably says
specific.
drinks
It's even
served
better.
only 2
Only
unarmed
2
customers.
unarmed
Oh
customers. Yeah.
damn it! Okay,
I
you're
like
right. You're
I
right.
like
That's
faux
that
unarmed
faux.
customers better.
That's
I
my
like that
This is
they're
countriness coming
beautiful.
out.
rendering the tops of the bottles.
It's so good.
Wait, can we
man.
talk
So
about
good.
the Second Amendment rights to drinking being unarmed? I mean, is it even... Never mind, sorry, I take it back.
Americans confuse me.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
okay.
why you
Americans confuse other
That's because
Americans.
you haven't been to Colombia.
Yeah,
Human
this is
beings are very
so
complex,
good,
okay?
man. So good. Can you zoom all the way back out? I just want to look at it from the furthest possible.
Yeah.
Look, I feel like this person is a
But have
way
you seen
better
that German
artist
guy who
on
makes the
paper
guns
than
with
on-
that shoot pencils and like I think he does like archery, but he builds like really crazy.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
100%, yeah. Oh yes, 100%. Yeah. Hilarious.
8 hours was for the angel.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. He's adorable.
Mm-hmm.
He's adorable.
He cracks himself
Besides,
up
my
a
neck
lot,
hurts
yeah.
from being.
I don't know, man.
The pencil crossbow.
I'd like to be constructive to this person, but I can't. They're killing it, man. They're
It's
so
fun.
good.
Yeah, what are you gonna say? I mean,
You know,
it's
the most
fine.
annoying thing about critique sessions is when there's nothing to critique. Next,
Mhm.
you know, sorry, it's too good.
I
You
know.
don't get any critiques. Fuck it. You can just like
Let's move on to our.
I'm trying.
keep feathering it. You know, like
This is Cole. Cole is in the chat.
Oh, Cole
Oh,
has
so
a tough.
I
act
don't
to
know if you
follow.
heard me, but the Angel was 7 years. No, 8 hours.
Oh wow. Okay.
8 hours. That's
8
fucking
hours.
awesome.
Holy
What was 8
shit!
hours?
The Angel took 8 hours.
What angel?
The last tattoo.
I don't remember.
Oh.
And
How many hours?
I don't know. I don't mean for this to sound. I don't know that the person who did this at all, but I don't mean for this to sound prejudiced either. But I did this. I do this convention every year in Alabama, and these dudes from Mexico, or not even like El Paso area, make their way up every year, and they crank out full sleeves that look like that sleeve that we just saw. They crank out full sleeves in like 14 hours in a single day that looked like it would take me 60 hours. I mean, not exaggerating, 60 hours to make stuff that looked like this, and it still wouldn't be as good. And so that's why I've
Mexicans are great
learned.
with black and gray.
No, but
Yeah,
I
I don't-
also feel like when we started tattooing, equipment and technique wasn't that good, and you were scared of using anything beyond a 7 mag and all that. And
Yeah.
me personally, I had to relearn, because it would take me forever to do half sleeve, and now I see people doing amazing sleeves in like a third of the time, and it's just like, dude, get up. with the
Equipment
times,
has
like,
changed the game.
equipment. I was just gonna
That's
say
true.
equipment is really
Machines are
different.
better.
I
needles are
have
better.
access to all that equipment too, and I can't do
Yeah,
it.
no, but you gotta do a switch.
You-
Like it takes a while.
You do have to. There's a learning curve. Yeah, you gotta adapt to the.
You know, I really noticed that when
available.
you have like some of these like ultralight rotaries that I've been using, like the injector that just weigh nothing,
Yeah.
and you can move those things really fast because there's no inertia to them. You can just go whip, 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 and you don't feel any resistance, right? If you do that with a coil machine, they're so heavy you can't move them that fast.
Yeah.
No, like
just-
with the injector, it feels like it's not packing the color, and then you look and it's like, oh shit, it's there.
Oh yeah, totally.
Huh.
You know, so you can move those machines just a lot faster, and it just
And they're
makes
more
it more
precise.
yeah, more
Yeah.
precise.
They
It
always
makes it
work
more
the same
intuitive.
every
You can
fucking
move it just
day.
like a pencil. That's my
I
point.
was
You know?
so intimidated when Injecta put out the different torsion bars with different like I had so little understanding when they first put that stuff out. They were so far beyond where I was technically that it scared me, and I never even tried one.
Dude,
I haven't fucked with those
Check
at
this
all.
out.
I've been using like the Hawk pen for several years.
Yeah, man, I use that
Same.
forever. I don't use it now, but I used it for so long, and I love it.
It's a
Have you
Cheyenne pen.
have you
Yeah,
seen this?
exactly. Cheyenne Hawk. Yeah.
Oh,
That's,
go
what
back.
is
Cheyenne
that?
Hawk. That's like
What
the
is-
OG.
Yeah, that's
Marcus,
that's what I'm still
I've
using.
seen you talk about this. Yeah, it's
This is so much fun.
It's good. I mean, I have the
It's such
What
a
is it?
no-brainer.
lightweightness
I'm
of
just-
it. It's
Okay,
I'm
so
just
this
kidding.
that's a battery-driven machine from Injecta, the new one.
That's
And it's-
awesome.
It's
So is that
fucking-
totally wireless?
yeah, completely wireless.
That's awesome.
how long can you tattoo?
Okay, so you
One
got
charge.
you got a small battery that goes in there. See, I got a small one in there because I'm
Wow.
weak. That goes for like almost 4 hours, and then the bigger one goes like 5 to 6 hours, and then you get 2 of each. But the awesome thing is my line work has gotten a lot better because you don't have to fuck around with your clip cord anymore. You know, you don't have any
Yeah.
cable that gets snagged somewhere or
Yeah,
sticks to your client
That
or
is an issue. Yeah.
anything like that. You have
How much
complete-
does that weigh?
It's not that much, honestly. It's really not. It's like it's so far away from a coil machine still. It's not
Yeah.
that much heavier than a Cheyenne pen. The weight
Really?
distribution is a little bit. No, it's fine. Look,
Yeah.
We did a review
It's a
on
bit
battery.
bulkier, but
We
yeah.
we did a review on battery powered machines recently on our show, and my buddy Ty Pilata has been using Ink Machines battery pack. But I bought like this $40 battery off Amazon, and I bought 2 of them because I didn't think they would go very far. And they're just a regular RCA. They plug into basically everything except for my Cheyenne because it's female to male or it's male to female. Cheyenne makes things difficult, but
You have a
like
tranny. You have a tranny
I have a
Cheyenne.
tranny Cheyenne.
Yeah, it's a German.
But my ink machines, I bought the Bishop pen.
So
it works for most
inclusive.
all the right. But the thing is like I now run my machine slow, like 6.5 to 7.5 volts tops, and I tattoo from noon till about 7 every day, and I've never run out of like I've been doing this for almost a year, and I've never run out of battery. And the battery pack cost me $40.
Wait, this is the Bishop wireless?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, the Bishop wasn't meant to be wireless, but I'll shoot you. I follow you on Instagram. I'll shoot you a.
I know. I almost buy one of those.
I'll shoot you a picture of it. It's like a $40 Amazon battery pack that you just plug into anything. I've been using it on my ink machine and on my Bishop. And I can run it for 6 or 7 hours, and I've never run out of battery at all.
Because don't they have a new prototype wireless?
Say what?
Don't they have a new prototype wireless?
I think now what they're trying to do is they're building the battery pack into the machine. So Cheyenne and FK Irons both have these like machines that have them. Yeah. They both have them. The battery packs built in. This is just a little plug-in thing. It's just a block that's about the size of a cube of ice. Like if you made an ice cube.
How do you address the voltage on that?
It's on the back of it. There's a plus and minus on the back of it. Yeah. Yeah, it's super cheap. Like if it broke next week, I would just buy 2 more. I
love the idea of wireless.
It's so cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It's like I used it for an hour. Just last week, I was tattooing with it a little bit, and I was instantly fucking sold. I don't need a power supply. I have no clipboard cable, no foot switch cable. Like the whole studio looks much more clean. There's less cleaning. There's less packaging.
I haven't used a foot switch in probably 2 or 3 years, but I
never used the foot switch. I'm just saying, I've never in my life.
You guys don't sound drunk.
I am drunk.
I'm pretty drunk.
You're wasted.
I'm pretty drunk.
Look, here's how much is left in this bottle. Can you see?
No. You've been drinking champagne. You're going to feel terrible tomorrow.
I know. Not as bad.
We have another 20
After
tattoos to go through.
Shit. Should we do some critiquing or what?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Go back to work.
Okay. This is someone who's watching.
I dig it.
I think
I know,
awesome.
it's good. What do you
This is awesome.
It's good.
Next.
It's good.
I want to tattoo my car.
It's good. It's death proof. Next.
Can I say something?
Honestly, Gabe, this is fucking great. There's nothing to critique about. Fucking next.
Light source is from the right, so all the shading on the left side panel should be darker than the one on the top, just by rule. And you would make it so much more stronger.
Yeah. Unless you decided there was a more intense light coming from your left, which means that the light from the right, all that stuff from the right, that skin tone should be just a little bit darker. So you can go either way right now. You can either.
But I think it looks like the.
I think what you guys are trying to say is you need to bump up the C word.
Time to drink.
Well done.
Clitoris.
Well done. Good job.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna drink. Fuck it.
Yeah, this is an awesome tattoo. I love it.
The only negative
The C word.
of everything about this composition.
Guys, we're gonna have to go because our nanny is like over in like 10 minutes.
Aww.
We have a
Just
kid.
bring the kids out.
I know. Yeah. Bring
Terrible.
Yeah,
That's
but then they're gonna
terrible.
be repeating the C word.
Oh yeah, we'll stop saying the C word. We'll stop saying the C word if you bring the kids out.
I don't believe that for a second.
Not a second.
Okay, do I? Oh shit! Wrong way. Okay, so Lalo Melody, give us a. I've got you highlighted. Give us a little bit of a.
What's happening?
What was your favorite thing about drunkcritique.com?
Talking to people about tattoos. Feeling like I was in a shop again.
I have a secret. I tattooed like 2 days ago, and I felt like I'm worth something again.
Oh.
Like I was feeling a little lost, because I don't see.
I was supposed to tattoo the next day, but this motherfucker decided to take forever and use all the gloves.
Lame.
Oh,
Do
look
you
at
have an
that.
itchy
Lalo,
throat?
share.
Do you have an
That's-
itchy throat? Is it are you cough now, or do you have a runny nose or something?
My runny nose is Colombian. Fucking. My
Well played,
I'm
touche.
All right, no
holding
more
myself.
filming. No more
Whatever.
filming here. No more filming. We gotta move on.
Stranded in paradise.
Dude, that's the best thing of this critique that I got to show off my fucking quarantine that I haven't been posting because I don't want people to get suicidal. But if I don't think about the future, I'm having a blast. Every now and then I wake up, I'm like, what am I gonna do when this is over?
We wake up panicking still every morning, but whatever.
We live
we
one
drink.
moment to moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then I see
Yeah,
that,
you
that
guys got
owl
it down.
tattoo and I say it's not so bad.
definitely.
Once
No, fuck that.
international
And I
travel
see my
opens
tan on the
back
screen,
up.
and I'm like, yeah.
Hey, Lalo, you want to? Now's the time to vaguely plug your composition seminar.
Oh, you know what? Honestly, I feel like the biggest fucking weaker thing that most tattoo artists have on their tattoos is composition. And I remember when I studied composition, it was like this mystical thing that I didn't want to admit that I didn't understand. But then because of that, I studied it a lot. And I think I can simplify it enough to put it in a seminar, composition for tattoo artists.
Awesome.
Just so I don't talk shit about you on your drunk.
But how do we find
how long-
composition
how
for
long-
a tattoo?
We're gonna do it with Gabe.
How long is your seminar?
We're gonna do it with Gabe.
How long is
Gabe's a
the seminar?
loser.
Come over
I
and I
wouldn't
get
do that.
internet.
Hey,
Lalo
Lalo,
and Gabe are gonna do it on camera, you guys.
Okay, well, that does sound better.
how long is the seminar?
Maybe 20 years ago would have been great,
I
but right
think
now.
there's gonna be some good contrast.
Yes.
And white highlights, but not too many.
Peace out, guys.
Cheers.
Peace out. Have a
Nice
good
to
night.
meet you guys.
Say-
Bye, guys.
You're master
Bye.
critiquers.
Later, people.
Talk shit or shit talkers.
Mark, you have anything to say about our? What car is this? Ford.
I would have guessed it was a Chevy.
That's actually the
something,
worst
but I'm
part
not-
of it. It's a Ford.
You have to
Oh,
drink.
it is a Ford.
Ford.
Oh, you have to zoom in. Son
I'm
of a
pretty
bitch.
sure it's a Torino, about a
Wait, are you
1968.
saying that as a German? Because that's awesome.
What's
course.
the plate say? Al Vision. What's the license plate say? Al Vision.
Correct.
Thank you, Thea.
Who the hell tattooed a four-door on themselves, though?
I like the attention that they paid to kind of the visor and the back glass. You know, it
Yeah,
almost looks
that's
like
so cool.
mini blinds or something. That's pretty cool.
It looks
pretty
like
sick.
a pain in the ass to do. It looks like a fight, especially in grays. Holy fuck, I don't want to do that.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great tattoo. I would have pulled the shadow, like the shadow on the bottom of it a little bit further. I don't know why I feel like that, but I would have pulled it to like. I'm sure they had a photo that they were going from, so they probably know
Yeah.
better than me. But I would have pulled that shadow like at least underneath the other tail light. It just feels like it's.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
like it. I like the edge of that. No, you know what? Like this
Really?
has so much respect for all the other tattoos that gonna come after it. You know, I really like this. I don't have anything to critique. If there's one thing, then the upper right edge is just a little bit light for my taste.
Upper
That's where
right
the-
edge. Where?
The upper right, like towards the knee, right there. Yeah, that's where it loses its shape a little bit.
Oh
Because
yeah,
that's when
the overall section in the that whole region. Yeah.
yeah.
too
That's a
light.
that's a little light.
Very light.
That's where it's going to lose its shape.
So you
Shape,
just
but-
you
but
would
then
have
we
you
don't-
would have lined that with a bold. I said lined.
No.
You would have bold lined that. Bold line did that. Hey, dude, would
Dude.
you have bold line did that?
Bold blade.
Oh my fucking god! Take another drink. I would put some background behind it. I would put some background behind it. To put some black shading behind it. Just I would
Okay.
I would want to leave that part of the car light and just put some dark behind it to punch it out. But you know, you can always do something with the next tattoo, and that's always up to the next tattooer if they want to do that or not. I think this is a really great tattoo.
I think
I
it's really
agree.
great too.
You know what
It's
I think
got, you
though,
know,
like
It's
Oh, go
a
ahead.
super weird shape. If you actually look at the foreshortening of it, it's extremely strange looking, but it's totally right on.
Can you
Like-
imagine this person
okay,
walking
alright,
down the
okay,
street
so
with
now
short
you
shorts
brought
on
something
and
up.
you see the car from upside down, or like
Yeah.
imagine this person walking. What a weird.
Oh my god! Now you brought something up that's actually critique worthy. Shit.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
honestly, yeah,
Their
that's
significant
the whole
other
thing. Like,
always
that
have a
placement
significant
It's
other.
okay
really
because
weird.
the nose of the car is pointed towards the groin, and that's the correct way to do it.
That's
Yeah,
where
from
you're
that
going.
perspective, it's a terrible tattoo. If I see somebody walking down the street, like nothing
why is
about this is going to be good.
No, it
It's
only
great
works
from
for
a
the
picture,
photo.
but
It only
everything
works when
else
you're
is
sitting
just
in your
terrible.
car, hitting the gas,
Yeah,
wearing just your underwear.
Yeah, shooting a point of view selfie from driving the car.
I like it. It's
still-
still a good
it's
tattoo,
still-
but
it's
yeah,
still
the
a good
placement is
tattoo.
super weird. You're totally right.
yeah.
Funny. Yeah. Oh wow.
This is cool.
It's cool. It's only got black in it. I like it already.
Yeah.
Makes me feel bad about how terrible I am in finishing.
What's going on?
I like the
Is
filigree
that a
and
crotch?
the under shading or whatever.
Is that light blue underwear? Is that a crotch? What am I looking at? Is that a
You're not supposed to look at that.
I zoomed right into that. Like, what is
Is that
this? Like a. So why did you say it's only got black in it? I like it already.
I don't know. I
There's
like
no
it because
gray,
it
hardly.
loo-
You don't know?
because it looks like it's been done really fast and it looks very confident. That's why.
Yeah.
It does look like almost only black pepper shading. Like there's very little gray, if any.
Yeah. And I do like that kind of stuff, but that's just a personal preferential thing. It's not really a critique or non-critique. It's just I like it.
Yeah,
Well, it's what we were-
from a tiny thumbnail, it still reads really well.
Right. It's the same thing we were talking about with Lalo. Was that his name when he Lalo that just left?
You already
Well,
forgot his
Saying
name.
that
That's so racist.
he was saying that people are afraid to use black, and then the reason I asked that question is because you just said I like that it only it only has black in it. I like it already. It just goes to show that's the point I was trying to make earlier on in the conversation, is that the more that you use black, the more deliberate you have to be. So the
Yes.
more confident you have to be in your mark making, right?
That's what
so
I mean.
yeah.
I'm always impressed when tattoos look like they've been done fast and confidently. There's not a dot and not a line that didn't need to be there. I just really like it. Hey, guy.
Hey,
Well, they only use
Hey, guy.
black, but they
Oh, shit.
managed
Oh,
to
hey,
give
guy.
that full value.
The guy Aitchison.
the himself.
Holy shit!
Good to see y'all.
Hi, friend.
What's going on,
Hey,
man?
guy.
How are you?
Hey, man. What's up?
Hey.
Good
I'm
to see
sorry
you.
I'm not drunk, but I'll still try to be loose and uninhibited.
We've got time.
Good luck.
Already
Good luck.
failed.
It's still daylight here.
Oh, it's terrible.
That was my problem, man. We live
It's
in the same
almost
time
daylight
zone,
again,
guy.
yeah.
It's too
That's
early
true.
to be this drunk.
Yeah.
what?
Are you guys in the middle?
This is drunk critique.
We're in the middle, and Gabe was like, "Hey,
I'll drink for
will
you.
you do this? Will you do this drunk critique?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that one." And then he was like, "By the way, it starts about the time you're going to work every day."
Hey,
So
Gabe,
wait,
can,
what time is
Sounds
yours?
about
At 3
perfect.
or 5?
hey,
It
Gabe,
started
can
at
you get
5
the
for
new
me.
guy to
5.
introduce
I'm
himself?
6, so.
Yeah,
Yes.
for me, it's like
So, guy,
6:40 in the morning.
can you introduce yourself now? Let us know how to find you and
Okay, since we're talking to the public, right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
Correct.
Theory.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
Guy,
You're basically
Aitchison,
talking to
that's how you
us
say it.
7 people.
and I can be found at hyperspacestudios.com. Instagram, Guy Aitchison Art. No hyphens or anything like that. And since you're all drunk, I won't spell it because it's fun.
No, please don't. Please don't be so professional.
Good. Are you really magic? And could you tell us what you smell like?
I don't have a functioning sense of smell, but
Okay.
it's got a name. I'm thinking about bottling it Eau du Guide.
It sounds delicious.
Uh-huh. So we're critiquing tattoos, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm firing one up,
Eventually.
and this
All
is
right.
from Lucas Luz,
All right.
a traveling awesome. Cool.
Color contrast is amazing.
Lucas, I
Yeah,
love
it's kind of
Lucas.
great. I
He's the
mean,
best. Love him. Love that
What
kid.
can you critique about that?
All right, you guys can stare at my ceiling for a little bit. I gotta go fill my glass.
Do you
All
gotta
right.
do?
Sounds
I'm
like
getting
a
close to that too.
All right,
I'm gonna
so
do the same
this
thing.
is this is a great example of the difference in all the stuff we've been talking about that's been like based on things that exist in real life, and then this is being based on pattern. So imagine that there wasn't like the flat, bold red belly. This tattoo would be terrible, right?
True.
It's all about that flat, bold belly. It's a pattern-based design, which is not what we've been talking about at all.
And
Yeah,
It's super graphic.
I think the shape is really good. I like that there's no background because the shape is really good. It gets
Yes,
no
no
shape.
background. Yeah, it doesn't need
Yeah,
it.
Doesn't
not
need
at
it.
all. No.
No.
It's a good tattoo.
Yeah, yeah,
Really good tattoo.
yeah.
Even though. No. Scratch that.
No,
I'm back.
follow through. What were you gonna say?
Nothing.
I like this.
Yeah, I mean,
tattoo.
with something like this, you can. I mean, it's so stylized that then you just let's get real close to that face. Let's look at how technical it is, and from a distance, since we're talking about it being pattern based, those red belly scales. To really knock it out of the park, you'd want to have the spacing between those a lot more even. Or if it's not even, have the ebb and flow of the spacing to be according to a predictable pattern so that we're staying with the pattern kind of theme. But then zooming in on the face, I do like the fact that you allowed yourself some variation in line weight. You know, I think that even with a very, graphic traditional piece like this, having a thicker and a thinner line just gives something a nicer presence. Like if you just use the thicker lines inside the face, I think the face would be cluttered. But because it's finer lines, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I like the detailed scales in the face.
It's the only
I think-
place where it scales.
I
Yeah,
like the randomness of the belly scales just a little bit. It adds a human, organic-y sort of feel to it.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think the only thing that bothers me, if there's one thing that bothers me, is that little piece of negative space before it loops back to the head. Like just
Oh, I
behind
like
the head.
that. Are you kidding me? That was the piece that I kept looking at, thinking that was cool.
I don't think we can be friends anymore then. I'm
No.
sorry.
I think it could be more exaggerated. Like it could be a bigger S curve.
Maybe, yeah.
Huh.
Well, okay,
I like
that black edge.
Are
where
we
you can-
at the point where we're starting to nitpick it? Because then
Yeah,
I'd
we're
say
definitely nitpicking.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
to the next because
The piece is so simple. Because
Yeah.
it's so simple, it kind of calls out for that kind of nitpicking. It's going to happen naturally, and this is actually one of those interesting rules where the closer you dial it in towards perfection, the more obvious the flaws become.
Yeah. 100%.
Like if I were to
this is a
do
very
this,
good
I
tattoo.
would feel really like limited to making everything completely like flawlessly perfect. I'd probably spend 3 times as long, and it wouldn't necessarily be any better of a tattoo.
Yeah, it wouldn't because it's stylized. I like the dots at the points of the lines and
Me
the
too.
belly scales too.
Me too.
I was just thinking, based on what Guy said to start, like, what if you added one other value of red? Let's say that you took a brick red, and you just considered the way that the shapes turned, and you just dropped in a dark red at some of the folds, and you got rid of the skin tone at those folds. You would get the same point. You would get the same point across, and you would like develop a little bit of like foreground and background, but you would still have a real traditional tattoo. That'd be super cool.
That would be
Yeah,
cool
but
because
you know
the
what-
blue
you know
has a
what?
dark to light fade. It would be
But
cool if the red did too.
I'm impressed with people who don't do that because they have way more self-control than me. So I always applaud that.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody, yes. Okay.
Oh,
Still Lucas.
which Iron
Hey,
Maiden
I don't have
cover
to
is
say
this?
it needs more black.
I wish that they would have taken a
Yeah,
regular
I know,
photo
but
and not
don't-
dropped it to grayscale.
If all the Eddies from all the Iron Maiden covers battled, which Eddie would win?
It's one.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'd say the future one.
Yeah, it's a good question though, right?
Yeah, no, the one with the laser
It's been a
gun.
raging battle for a long time.
Nah.
Hey, Gabe, for future drunk critiques, although I'm real drunk, I would say if you drop everything to grayscale, you shouldn't be able to enter it.
I could drop a multi-braid to grayscale.
Say what?
I could do that.
Yeah, I just think that it takes a lot of the it takes a lot of our I don't know. It just seems like it
comes up enough.
Yeah,
it's a good test.
That also though pokes at a really big concept of the tattooers are altering their photos way too fucking often.
Way too much, man. It's and we've done this to ourselves, but like why I mean,
you know what?
I mean, everyone knows it's a black and gray tattoo. Why do you drop it to grayscale and then intensify it and add a filter that makes it look a little bit whatever?
You know what I find so funny about that? I had so much problems with actually tattoo magazines doing that kind of shit to the photos that I sent in back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day, that was
so mad about that.
Oh, they
Whenever
did a
they
horrible
turned
job,
around
too.
to the colors,
They
hate
used
it.
to punch the contrast horribly back in the day.
Oh,
yeah,
I
that's
hated
true.
it, and now
Yeah.
all these everybody is just doing it to themselves, and I'm just giggling every time I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't mind when people do the black and gray, like if they do a black and white filter on a black and gray scale tattoo.
Well,
that doesn't
for their
drive me
followers,
crazy or
but to
anything.
be
But
critiqued.
it's not. I mean, sometimes you have like that, red haze that does kind of detract from it if it's not a healed photo. It can be a little distracting on a black and gray piece.
Yeah.
I don't have a big problem with it, to be honest. But if you do,
I don't
that's
know.
cool.
I do. I don't like it. But go ahead. Let's
It's a little
critique
bit
it anyways.
cheating, but it's aesthetically, kind of better.
About this tattoo, though, I like it.
I do too.
Yeah.
Overall, I just don't like that it was submitted in a way that we don't see if it's fresh or healed. We don't know if there's like how much irritation there is, where they struggle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, everyone's done a bunch of tattoo. Everyone that's doing this critique has done a lot of tattoos, and we could look at a fresh tattoo and see where this person was struggling and where they weren't struggling. And when you desaturate it, you take all that away.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't think this
that's
was
true, but like you were
overworked.
saying,
I don't
though-
think this was very irritated. If I look at
And
the
even when
peripheral,
Obviously, it's not irritated. It's desaturated. We don't know.
Well, yeah.
this one kind of irritated.
But like you're saying, like when
You're
you,
obviously
when you shoot a
irritated.
tattoo-
I'm very irritated, you sons of bitches.
but like when you photograph a tattoo, like it's very hard to capture what it really looks like in person, whether it's healed and blown out from like shitty lighting or it's like fresh.
Well, yeah,
and it's
but we've
irritated.
judged 15 tattoos leading up to this one that didn't do that.
Well,
and
sure.
they-
I mean,
they
you
pulled
can
it
certainly
off.
judge hard, but I'm just saying, like, it is very hard to capture a tattoo in real life in a photograph, and your photography skills come into play for sure.
Yeah,
That's
you
also a
win.
tattooer's
You
skill.
win. It's a beautiful tattoo. I love it. Move on.
Good job, Lucas.
One more from Lucas. Nope.
No, we already saw that one.
Nope.
That's good. Is that the same person?
Yes.
I
Oh,
think so.
Plague Doctor, so timely.
Oh, it is.
Yes. This is Lucas.
It's a dope tattoo.
I like
It's
love
cool, yeah.
Yep.
Wait, is it got like kind of a weird like Day of the Dead / Plague Doctor thing happening with the dangles on the hat?
I think he. Oh, maybe you're right.
Let's zoom in here.
Oh, yeah. Could be.
Smart.
It's a culture mashup.
Oh, it's clever.
I'm really curious what stage this is in. Like it
It looks
clearly
fresh.
but it's not like everything was done in one go fresh.
Yeah.
Lucas,
The
let
bottom-
us know in the chat room.
The bottom's fresh.
No, I don't think that. I think that has a couple of touch-ups, but I don't think it was all fresh.
Right. I think some of those super light background grays.
The background
look like
does
they're
look healed, yeah.
Yeah, that looks healed. Yeah.
A little bit looks like opaque gray.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
I don't
actually.
think so. I think it's just the way it's healed.
I like that little bit of an organic touch in the all that face structure. I really do like the little bit of the geekery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's totally
Geeky.
Giger. I'm glad you said that because it's definitely
Yeah.
definitely that.
I think the only thing that I would like to see is a little bit of a thicker peripheral outline around that beak, because that looks a little janky. But that
Along
might
the
also
what?
be the beak.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that outline around the beak looks a little janky, but maybe it's just because that's the only spot where I actually see an outline, where it's not an edge, and I get irritated by lines, right?
This oh shit. This reminds me. Hold on.
Everybody's
camera.
just falling off.
This reminds me a little bit of some of the early pieces we were looking at. Remember how the first 2 or 3 pieces we looked at?
I don't remember. No.
Oh well, just trust me. This is true.
Cool.
The first few pieces that we looked at, they didn't do a good job of incorporating the background into the foreground. They were just kind of stamped on, and not the photorealistic pieces, but like the owl, for example.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Jake. Can you remember? Lucas is texting me trying to defend himself, so I think he needs to drink extra.
Yeah.
Oh, Lucas.
He literally said in my defense.
Lucas,
Don't be defensive.
No defense. Don't even read. Nobody
We
wants
are
to hear
just
it.
drunk rambling. It's cool.
Don't.
To draw
Yeah.
your attention away from the janky lines around the beak, they're a little janky around the brim of the hat too. So it's consistent.
And plus, the front of the hat is so much longer than the back of the hat, but nothing else makes that same kind of perspective.
Do you
know what I'm
think
I think
saying?
that's being lost on the back curve of the arm, though.
Yeah, I think that's for sure.
You might be right. That's why I didn't say that earlier. But I think.
But can we make a rule in general? If somebody's trying to defend their shit, that's not going to be entertained.
I think they need to finish their drink.
No.
When you say it with that accent,
mean,
you
who's
can't
gonna have to
disrespect
buy
it.
the drinks for
It's like
next time?
we're not going to entertain that.
Yes, we are not going to
Lucas,
entertain
drinks
it.
are on you next time.
You can turn up the accent too if you want.
You know what
Not a
does it for
problem.
me though with this piece? I like almost all of it, but right smack dab in the middle of it is that hand, and
Oh shit! There is
The
a hand.
perspective
It's
is
tiny. I didn't even see it.
Perspective is stylized, obviously, but
well, yeah, it's time to just ask somebody to model for you, and you know,
you can. It's never a bad idea to have someone model for you.
Wait, is the hand holding a lantern that I didn't even notice before the hand?
correct. Yes.
Okay.
Zoom back out, please.
This is where the nitpicking starts.
Oh, I thought those were abs. I thought it was like a shredded leg doctor.
No shit.
Oh.
Yes, totally abs.
Oh, it's
It's the fucking death doctor with the abs. Awesome. I love it.
I'm more okay with the derpy hand than the like floating abs.
yeah.
These are not
Okay,
abs.
so there's a perfect example of how your highest levels of contrast just jump forward. I just assume those are abs because the negative space of the flame shapes or whatever the negative shapes are so dominant that the lantern became so secondary. I didn't even know it was a lantern until a guy said it was a hand. Like, I would have never seen any of that.
Same. I didn't notice at all. I missed it totally.
Yeah.
I missed it, but my eye just didn't go back there because there's just so many more stronger shapes and more stronger contrast around the head that is more interesting to look at and draws the eye more, which I think is okay. But that lantern is kind of important too, and I think, again, if you zoom in on that, Gabe, if you have your background and your foreground in the same value, that stuff is going to get lost. The lines are not going to do the trick. And that's what's happening there. But we said that 100 times before in this critique session, so there you go.
So think about how you could have presented this. Let's say you had a plague doctor who was holding a lantern out in front of him, which would have like hunched his shoulders forward, which would have dropped his face down, which would have had a lantern that sat completely in front of him that like shined up onto his face. Like think about the possibilities of this idea, right? You could have made this so cool, man. If you would have just like dropped his hand way in front of everything else, turned him just slightly, and like made the lantern the focal point of light, which right now it's not at all. The light's all behind him and the negative shapes that cut in front of him. But like if the lantern were the focal point and everything else was darker, you could have lit him from the bottom, which would have made which would have made his like plague doctor mask so much more cool. it's a kind of a wasted opportunity because of how you like the lantern and the hand and the arm are such an afterthought that you can't even tell what they are. So that's
Okay,
I think this can be remedied just by making the background behind the lantern just a little bit darker, so you create a patch around the lantern, and then it becomes.
But what if his arm was outstretched and his shoulder was forward? Like, just imagine that.
You know?
Then he would be German.
But let's just say that the composition were to stay like this, right? First of all, I think the sky needs to be darker throughout. You know, I think that gray is just too pale for it to really seem like he would even need a lantern, you know? Here's the thing, that head contrasts the background so nicely up top, right? So like the upper half of this, you've got bold contrast, really nice differentiation of shapes, right? Then you kind of scroll down and things start to mesh together. And it's tricky because you're trying to fit a lot of things into a fairly small area, and it's all very nicely tattooed, right? Like technically it's super clean, but when you look at it from a distance, it's a little crowded, and that lighting isn't immediately apparent because, you know, like I was saying, the negative space that's swirling in front of everything is just as light as the lantern and has actually a lot stronger movement to it. So it's getting noticed where the lantern is kind of falling back. So you're making a challenge for yourself by doing the lantern that way. The whole idea of holding it, you know, hunching over and holding it forward is then you could have a background around it that you could really create a kind of gradient to give a sense of it being lit up. Now, if you wanted to keep it where it is, I think his whole body is too small for his head. Like if it was wider, broader shoulders, the arm was bigger, the hand twice as big, then you could get the anatomy of the hand more spot on. And then maybe the lantern hangs in front of the negative space, and maybe the negative space actually goes down to a light gray as it passes behind the lantern. You follow through with all that movement, but you allow the lantern to be the lightest thing in the area. Bigger with the shapes where you can. I mean, that's one of the things I always ask myself when I'm looking at my own designs as I'm, you know, prepping for a piece is, okay, where can I make the shapes bigger? And there are a few places where you could have done that with this one. In fact, there's a lot of space above the head. The head could have been higher up. You could have had a lot more room for that body. It could have been the right scale proportion to the head that way. And then you would have had more room to work on these narrative elements, because the rendering is great. So if you were to scale up that rendering with the shapes being bigger, you could really knock it out of the park.
I completely agree with that. But if you're but to your point, if you're making all the changes that you just suggested, you also could have made the lantern more of a focal point, and you could have said, like, okay, I have a super intense light. It's super intense, and then it falls out quickly, and then everything else behind it is less intense than that light. So to my original point, you could have like made his head and the hat like loom over the top of his deltoid,
right?
And made that light on the front of his bicep like reflect back on that stuff. You could have caught some light on the back, on the bottom side of his hat, even probably. You know what I'm saying? Like you could have just like completely changed like if you squint down and you look at the basic shapes of this, it's not very interesting. But if you had like double the size of that hat and the head, and you turned his head down a little bit, and you had him looming, and then the intense light source was coming all from the lantern and shining up, you completely changed this tattoo, and it would be.
Yeah, but that's kind of my point to your critique. You know, you're basically creating a completely different tattoo than what he was trying to do.
But Guy just created a different tattoo.
No. Yeah, I know, but you're changing the shape on the angle of the head and everything. I don't know. Yeah. I think we're spending a lot of time on this tattoo.
Yeah,
well, because it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting enough to talk about.
Well played, sir.
It is really interesting.
I also had many beers, man. It's like still sunshine outside.
I know. I'm so drunk, and it's fucking almost 3 o'clock in the morning with me. So I'm getting nasty.
Hey, thank you for popping in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Man, are you leaving?
Wish I could stick around longer. Yeah, this is just a quick drop in. You know, figure I'd drive by and smash a few tattoos. You know. Lucas,
good to see you, guys.
Putting your stuff up like this, and it's great seeing you all. And,
good to see you guys.
Great to see you, man. Great to see you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hello to the family.
Are we out? Shit.
No,
Missed it.
guys up.
Oh, I think I fell
Bye.
asleep.
Welcome back.
Okay. This is Derek Scott, who just got back from the vet.
Something. Dope.
Gabe, you're
Awesome.
slacking. What-
I have to do the can.
You know what I
So-
love about this is you can't tell when you're actually on screen. So you guys all pop up for like a quarter of a second. And like that dude has no idea he's even on screen right now.
Assume you're always on screen. Just literally, just
Yeah.
always, just assume you're
He's
always
not on screen?
Yeah.
You can change the layout if you need to.
I've tried that.
It's
It
all
doesn't-
up to you.
There's
It's not
a,
up to me. It's up to
I'm not
Apple. I
going to
haven't done
explain that. You're fucked. I'm just
Ooh.
like gonna let you know you can, and you can figure it out, but I don't want to explain it.
It sounds like you're not that invested in that.
I'm
Well,
tired,
I think
man.
when you're
I'm
talking-
drunk. It's almost 3:00 in the morning. Whatever. Don't judge me.
This is really cool, but it,
I
it
like
like it,
this.
it
I like
feels
this.
very
You're gonna look at it for a while. You can.
okay.
This is a great
know.
tattoo. I love
I
this.
really like the leaves a
I
lot.
do too.
Yeah,
The
I
only
like the
thing I don't like
balance.
about it is like the nose lacks a little bit of contour.
Yeah, I agree. And there's no chin. I can't figure out where the head ends down there. I don't really know what's going on down there. There's a leaf that's black and skin color. There's
Yeah.
just one leaf that's going from black to skin color. I don't know why it needs to do that. I think I would have left that out and just finished the mouth and the chin somehow. I don't really know how it ends, but you know.
But from like a positive, negative, like dark light balance, it's an interesting tattoo.
Yeah.
If you were walking past someone that had this tattoo, it would stand out to you.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, the only
Yeah.
part that really bothers me is that one leaf that goes just over the mouth that is going from black to skin, and that doesn't happen anywhere else. And
It's
it
a
happens
tangent. It's a weird tangent. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens exactly at one of the most complex parts of the tiger, and that's where my confusion is. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's all that hair,
Yeah.
all that black hair. There's the nose. There's all the whiskers. There's that.
Who is furiously typing?
Is someone on an antique typewriter right now? Is someone on a 1925 typewriter?
Like somebody on the internet is like disagreeing with me.
Disagree.
All caps.
You know what? You know what I
Theo
think
for
is
the win.
kind of cool about this is that there's like
Stop.
quit typing. There's something about the play between the leaves and the stripes that I like. Like-
Kermit the Frog. Sorry.
Like the leaves kind of look like they could be stripes, right? I mean, like the leaves
Yeah.
and the stripes kind of intermingle enough that they're really interesting.
And this is what a tiger does, right? That's why tigers
It
have
has to be
stripes.
Gabe.
So that's
Who
what
else could be professionally typing that?
Hey, Gabe,
Gabe, quit
this
typing.
must be you, and I want you to stop it. It's so funny that when Gabe is talking and typing, it's almost the same rhythm. It must be Gabe.
But you're right with
Did he take his headphones off? He had to.
Jesus Christ. No, this
Gabe.
tattoo has so much redness. I don't
It's
know
ASMR
if it's
typing
real
now.
or not.
Who is that?
Gabe,
Jesus Christ.
you're killing us.
Gabe Ripley.
I don't professionally type.
No,
can't
we're-
type
Is that you? Are you typing like that?
That's not.
just let us know that we're going to tap into something that's going to lead to tremendous riches.
That's like a legit keyboard to make that much noise.
Holy
Oh,
shit!
my God.
Hey, something's wrong with my screen. I'm seeing colors now.
Yeah.
Like this old school clickety-clack.
What's at
Oh,
the
right.
top? Did they outline something at the top of
That's
this?
art.
It's art. Thank you. It was
Oh,
art. I was gonna say
There's
it's
been
art.
too much
That's
of a gap.
magic.
I have to
That's
pee.
just
I'll
magic.
be back.
Man,
That's
I'm gonna
cool.
say
I like this
I like
space.
this. I want to do this stuff so much. Like I recently met what's the girl from England that does all the Amy Cornwell. Amy Cornwell. Do you know Amy Cornwell?
Oh, the
She'll,
super
like,
realistic painterly stuff.
Yeah,
Or
but
like
it's
the-
not as real.
where it
It's
looks-
not. It's not that realistic. It's kind of
But
painterly.
But it's
And then she'll
extremely
go-
detailed. Like it looks
It's
like
real
a.
detailed.
It looks like
And
a
then she'll-
Raphaelite painting.
Yeah, then she'll go to like the chin and she'll just like gray line it, and then she'll gray line the
Yeah.
cheek, and then she'll whip it. And like
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
look
yeah.
at it, I'm like, oh, that's so bold. You know, it's such a deliberate way to like.
that stuff.
It's real cool. That's what this reminds me of. I love
know
it.
what
I'm not confident enough to do it.
You know what this has? That like you remember like years ago we saw that Dali tattoo with an orange background.
Yeah. The orange
Yeah,
background.
years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, that was like so
Feels
many
like-
years ago.
Like this tattoo has everything that tattoo didn't. You know, it's like the background on this tattoo is just really well done. That's
Yeah.
perfect amount of
There's
background.
more going on. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
got like nice fade out, and it's not like it doesn't look like a sticker. Everything fades really nicely into the skin where it needs to. I really like this tattoo a lot.
I do too. But what does that
It's
line
orange
around the
though.
top of it
You know what?
contribute?
I really like
Does it?
that.
That irritates you a lot,
line
doesn't
work.
it?
No, I don't know that it does. That's why
I
I'm
like
asking.
that.
I kind of like it, but I'm not sure why I like it. I feel like I shouldn't.
Because
Why-
it's a more of a design consideration than a realism thing.
But
you know?
okay, so like make it disappear in your mind. Is it a worse tattoo without it? I can't tell.
No, it's just,
I don't know.
It's, just,
I
it's
think
a
it's cool.
flourish.
Yeah, it's a flourish. I think there's maybe like a really disgruntled fly fisher on the other side of that
It's a
arm.
witch.
I like it. I
It's
think it's
good.
really
I like
good.
There's a
way that
lot of
the-
orange in it, and orange always makes me a little nervous. Joe said that earlier too.
Can be too
Um,
much easily.
Well, it just disappears, right? And
At the
I
same time, though,
I don't like the white
sometimes
outline in
you
the
make a
immediate foreground.
really cool design because somebody just wanted that. Like
right,
we
hold
know
on.
as tattooers that's not gonna work out.
Okay,
well.
what
Like this is a
in the
great
middle of
great
this?
example of like I please somebody that it's not gonna work out well, but you know what, they live this life. And
can
that's-
I share a tattoo secret
sure
Oh, please.
about orange?
please
You can mix
I love
colors.
No. Yes, you can. No, of course. But it's not going to look as vibrant if you mix yellow and red. It just doesn't heal the same way, right? There's orange that actually is really consistent and stays very well. It's very light fast, and it's powder, like Waverly or many years ago. We had Old Gold that was great orange.
Oh,
That stuff
that's good
sticks.
color. Yeah.
That stuff sticks, and you know the
all
previous
all those people have coronavirus now.
Okay.
Stop.
Oh, good. You know,
I still have some of those powders if you guys want to send your retirement.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
you guys,
Color
I
Amiga.
do have one question about this tattoo, and it is what is right in the center?
It's
is
a
that?
white line that makes no sense to
No,
me. I
but
don't
what's
know.
the
No,
shape
behind that,
the
you're
white
fucking
line?
right.
What is that?
Oh, that's
You have an eye for weird stuff. You know that?
I probably do.
I don't know.
But it, like-
You know what it is? I think this is fire, and that thing is a marshmallow. That's
it
what
could
I'm
be a
going.
marshmallow. I was thinking it was like a rotisserie chicken, but it could be a marshmallow. Easy.
That's like kind of the focal point of the tattoo, and what the fuck
Yeah.
is it?
I don't know.
You're totally right. I'm so confused, and I wasn't confused before you said that.
To me, the white line leads you from, if you follow the yellow rays down to the left, the white line brings you to a new piece of the art to look at. So it's just part of the flow. I
mean, it's
zigzag from the
cool
top
Wait.
left.
abstractly,
Yeah.
but it's
Top
So
very
there's a
left.
yellow
Right.
line that leads to a white line, but what's it cutting? It might be like a barrel of something, a keg of beer.
The light doesn't bother me at all. All I see now is the thing that Thea just mentioned, and it doesn't bother me.
That word from the chat room. It's a skull.
Yeah.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's definitely not a skull.
It's
Really?
not. If this is a skull, that tattoo sucks now. I didn't.
I'm trying to see the skull now.
I really
Totally
like
this
this
one.
until I.
Zero
until-
chance it's a skull.
Who said that? Is that a legit person that said
It's
that, or
not
is
the
that just
person
a
that
random
did
person
it.
that said that?
We
Because
had like 3 or
It's
4
like,
people say it.
No, that was
That's not a
obvious.
skull.
I need
Come
to drink
on.
more, or I need to get sober.
Oh! I might see what they're saying. If you
That's
zoom
the
all
nose
the way
cavity.
out, you can see it's the
Like
nose of the
I'm seeing a
skull.
modernist chair. I'm seeing a butterfly
shit,
chair.
If
bro.
you
That's
zoom
what I want.
out, you can see it could be like the left
Okay.
half circle could be the eye socket. The thing we're talking about could be a nasal cavity, which is real weird.
You know, in the critique
Yes.
session, whenever you say could be, it sucks. That's just what it is.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I'm trying really
You
hard
know,
to
it
see the
needs to-
skull.
It needs to be obvious. No, I'm seeing at least you see all that stuff.
Yeah, I can see it's a
like
skull.
just above the wrist. That's teeth. That's like fucked up.
Well, you mean the whole shape is a skull?
The whole
entire
shape.
thing?
The whole
The
thing
whole
is a
thing,
skull. Yeah.
Okay.
Which would make the
I
nasal cavity
really
real
needed to be told that, and that makes that not good.
No.
Well,
I wouldn't
it's
have seen
fantastic
the
as long as
for it.
all of your clients can pay for amazing, just
I tell-
long conceptual pieces for the rest of their lives.
Here's one cool thing about it. If you guys can zoom in the way that I am right now, if you were all following my phone, you would see that like in the furthest background on the horizon line, it's like a soft pink, and then it goes to orange. I always have been infatuated my whole life with how pink and red work together, like pink and orange. Like it's like the ultimate cool to warm to me. And I like that little. I like that transition.
I like that you
from
used
like
infatuated. That's just so cute. But you're
look, I'm not trying to be
absolutely right. No. But I feel the same way, and I always use that word from now on. I'm just collecting new vocabulary. It's awesome.
But do you see what I'm saying? If you zoom in, that horizon
German
line
words,
is
honestly.
pink, and then it comes to orange. That's a tricky thing to pull off. Yeah, that. That.
Yeah, those are the mountains in the background.
I agree.
Purple,
That's
purple
You're right
Majesty.
though. Like hard warm to hard cool is.
it's a hard transition to make, and that's a good version of it. I like that.
It's
A lot
a
of work.
cool piece, even like as an abstract.
I
I'm
mean-
still struggling to see the skull though. Like
There's no skull. It's a marshmallow. I don't give a shit. I like how much work went into that piece. I don't want this to be a skull though, because that just wrecks the whole piece for me. I really like this piece if it's not a skull. Whoa! what are you
shit.
On
is
this
the
note,
before.
I'm bowing out because it's been a while, and I'm gonna go spend some time with my wife. So
Oh, this is you?
Alright.
good to see you guys, but I gotta go.
Okay.
Nice to
Nice
meet you.
Cheers, Mark.
Cheers.
Cheers, Mark. Nice to
Take
have
care,
you.
guys. Have fun.
Nice to meet you.
Holy shit! Is that the next tattoo we have?
I thought that was Mark's tattoo, and he's just fucking off because.
Yeah, right. He's like, I don't know.
Hey guys, I'm out of here.
How the hell do I get out of this thing?
I
This
gotta
was
There we go.
yesterday.
Son of a bitch, I can't leave.
This is
Look, just do the
Lalo.
critique.
one of Lalo's tattoo.
Oh, he's
Is
not
it really?
Here to be here for
Oh,
the
We are now going
Oh,
into the
man.
critiquer's tattoos.
Oh, shit.
Nice.
That's-
Nice.
Hey Gabe. Gabe.
Yeah.
Did you get my message on the WhatsApp? I sent you another one of my tattoos that I think is better than the ones that I sent you.
You think your tattoo is better than this? Is that what you're saying?
Nah, I just sent him a more recent one because my old shit is bullshit.
No, I with you.
I like
completely
that,
misunderstood.
Lalo's been tattooing for like
Let's-
20 years.
I
or more,
feel-
too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I think this is a lizard with a backpack. No, go back.
Whatever.
No.
A lizard with
that's
a
too good.
backpack?
Yeah, it's a lizard with
That
a
other one was
backpack.
also a lizard with a backpack.
It is. His tongue's out. The tail's wrapped up on the bottom. He's got a backpack on.
He's
But you know
like
what?
studying hall.
Castlevania is one of my favorite games, and this is a character.
Fuck yeah,
Castlevania is good. Yeah.
that's fucking rad on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
That's
this.
all
I
I
love these so much because I struggled in this way for so long, man. I just like
That's
I
a pretty
kept-
a great
I
ancient
kept
tattoo.
doing this and doing this, and all my friends were like, "Man, I know you can draw, but your tattoos just aren't working out the right way."
Look at that orange though. That's fucking powder orange, and it's fucking there like nothing
It's
else.
still there. Yeah.
So look, think about all the times that we've seen orange disappear, and that's an orange that's obviously from the '90s, and it's still right there.
Powder.
Man, I've seen
dude,
some
that's-
10-year-old yellow that was unbelievably vibrant. I mean, it.
No,
Yeah.
totally.
Predispersed yellow sticks like a motherfucker, never goes away. Powder
Yeah.
orange. And don't use the powder yellow. That disappears. Don't use the powder.
Nobody uses powder or anything.
They don't really,
who,
yeah.
Who uses
At the
any
end
powder?
of the day, like, can you pack?
I use powder all the time for my
That's
oranges
all it
and my
comes
red
down to.
all the time, but only for that.
You're mixing dry. You're mixing your own inks from powder.
No, man, that Waverly.
So what does that mean? They what are you doing? They send it to you in powder form?
No, they just sell fucking powder pigment.
Disperse.
Yeah. Oh shit. Wait.
Are you doing this too, Thea? You have this?
I do not. I'm really interested in like what Alla Prima is now. Like, have they moved on?
I have no idea. Okay, so this is Waverly.
Yeah.
So that's a powder pigment, right? Pre-mixed. And that's a good old Starbright yellow. That's what I'm using.
Oh, you use Starbright? Good for you.
That Starbright yellow is one of the brightest yellows I've ever seen, man.
Exactly. Thank you very much, sir.
Dude, if it fucking works, it works.
And you know what? Check this out. You can actually mix this pre-disperse and the powder. And I made this. And that's the only banana yellow that I use because it's super reliable. It's there after 10 years of doing it.
So wait, you called it powder. What makes it powder? It comes to you in liquid form.
It comes to me, it's a powder pigment. It's not a pre-dispersed pigment, it's a powder pigment.
So you made that mixture?
Huh.
No.
It's coming from the source.
Am I too drunk to understand what you're saying? You're telling me you said they sent you a powder.
So Marcus, can you tell us about
what do you guys think
chemistry
about the intense gold?
I don't know. I don't want to tell you anything about the chemistry. All I know is that
I'm not a chemist. You said that's
neither am I. I buy this
it.
pre-dispersed pigment, and it's chemically somehow. Fuck! I'm not going there. I'm fucking.
Well, every pigment is a powder before they put it in water and glycerin and whatever else. That's why I'm asking. What makes it a powder pigment?
I can't tell you that.
Oh. Well,
I can't tell you that. If I would be less drunk, I could tell you that. Because then I wouldn't worry about being super, super duper wrong.
Oh, dude. You should start a podcast. I'm always super duper wrong. Story of my life.
You know what? Get me on your fucking podcast. I'll research it and then we do the podcast, all right?
Let's do it, man. I would love to. I love the way that you critique tattoos. We have to do a podcast together.
Done deal. Anyways, I'm doing this for 10 years, right? I don't give a shit. Okay, don't care about the powder or the previous. I'm using Waverly fucking orange, and I'm using Starbright yellow, and I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and I've seen the tattoos coming back, and the orange is there, the yellow is there. Actually, 10 years ago, I put a couple of dots of Starbright red, or Eternal red, and Waverly red. I'm so drunk. And Eternal orange and Waverly orange. This is really hard. And Canary yellow. And I had the Waverly yellow, and I put it all on my hand where the sun hits it all the time. And I don't know if you can see that. It's right there.
We definitely can't. No.
Wait, what? You tattooed it in your hand?
Yeah, I tattooed it on my hand because I'm ethically doing the right thing. Yeah. And I want to know how that shit sticks. And the Waverly red and the Waverly orange are completely there. They look just like I tattooed them. The Waverly yellow is completely gone. The orange of the Eternal is completely gone. That was gone after 2 years. The red and the yellow of the Eternal is still there.
Man, you took that to the extreme. Hey, would you ever see? Cool. We did this pod. We were talking about Jesse Smith earlier, and I did a show with Jesse Smith a year or two ago where he talked about doing a light fatness test. Holy shit, I'm drunk. Light fastness test. And he spent like 3 years on this test, and he distilled all of the major manufacturers down to their basic colors, which on the high end was like 13 colors, on the low end was like 8 colors, depending on the manufacturer. And he basically just like painted them on a canvas and he put them in the window for 3 years.
Yeah.
And he wasn't willing, which I understand, he wasn't willing to go into what worked and what didn't work. But My point being, it seems like you might have taken that to the very next level if you put it in your skin in that
Yeah.
same form.
That's the best
I
way
mean-
to test it. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
I did the same thing that Jesse did for a while, but I'm extremely impatient. And I actually back in the day, I had this aquarium in my shop that had like these very high-powered UV lights in it, and I put a strip of all the colors that I had just under those UV lights for a year, and nothing really happened because the color was just too thickly applied. And before I wanted to do it again, I was just like, oh my God, fuck it. I'm just gonna put it in my hand right now. And then I just did that. And then I just waited to see what happens because I was like, yeah, well, it's there now. It doesn't matter if I'm patient or it's gonna be
There's
there.
a big difference between what you can apply to under skin versus like on top of the paper, you know, in the window.
Right. We
I mean,
just did
there's
this.
a different factor too. Your immune system is a different factor too. How your immune system
Yeah.
deals with different pigments.
Oh, that's a great
and
point.
how all those macrophages fucking
Right.
deal with a different
Yeah,
size
you're
of
gonna lose a lot
pigments
of
too,
it.
right?
It's the density of like
Man, yeah, the
color in it.
so many variables. We just did this thing with some friends of mine, that this chemist of mine, a friend of mine, and we pretended on our last episode that we were like a photon of light, and we like shot ourselves from the light source through skin to the particle of pigment and back to your eyeball, and what could have possibly happened. And we edited this thing a dozen times because he thinks that there's no pure color that works. When this guy, he's a
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
You know that's how Einstein came up with his relativity theory. He imagined himself to be a beam of light. Isn't that beautiful?
That is beautiful. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, you know.
Well, so we did that, but he came back. This guy, this friend of mine, came back with this theory that like there really aren't any primary colors that make a lot of sense based on our skin tones. And so he goes through. He's a web guy too, so he went through and he did this like scrub of Facebook, and he pulled like 10 million samples, and he averaged them into like 8 total skin tones. And then he took those 8 skin tones and he broke them down, and he said, okay, if I took these 8 skin tones and I took everything that I know about how light reflects off of skin and the cell size. He's also he's a biophysicist. He worked on cancer for a long time. He knows a lot about human skin cells. And he was like, all right, let's say that I know that like the darker the skin gets.
Real quick, Jake, can I put you on pause? Half
what?
of your screen is like your thumb or something.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm
Continue.
so drunk. All right.
And then the other side also looks like a thumb because you're bald. So there's 2 thumbs almost.
Oh, shit, sorry. Okay, let me start over. So he said that like he was talking about how the how his if you average the value of the skin and based on the size of the individual scale and how light refracts, how long it would take that light to reach the particle of pigment and reach your skin, it got way too smart for me, real fast.
It's super overthinking it.
That is
It's overthinking
very
it.
technical.
Exactly. It's way
Super
overthinking it.
Here,
But it's a conversation starter that says,
Okay.
like, okay, take
Also-
that with what we know about tattooing, and where's the middle ground?
There's the whole debate with the primary RGB versus CMYK. And that's the legitimate point to bring up in terms of like high contrast. Like on tattoos, you don't even have pure white. You have skin, which is like mid-tone.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, maybe upper mid-tone. But like you've got a very limited range of contrast. Let's drink. But
Yeah.
CMYK works better because the tones are more, they're stronger. You know, like a magenta and a cyan is much stronger than a red and a blue.
Right.
You know what I like to do? Oh, the way that I like to think about it is, if you have, like, what do you see when you have the ink under the skin? Like your skin color is a compound of blood, the color of your blood, and the color of your skin pigmentation of your melanin, basically. But the tattoo ink is kind of in between the blood and the melanin. It's kind of mixing with where the melanin is, and it's above the blood mostly. So what I like to do is, if you make a fist and you get those white knuckles, and you get the color of the white knuckles. Like with me, I'm super duper white. That's almost like a very, very light, very light yellow. And then you add that to any color that you want to use. You add a very light yellow, and then you kind of know what the color is going to look like once it's healed. And that's really what it's all about, right? So when I, for example, want to make something look blue, you mix blue with a very light yellow, right? You get more of a turquoise kind of color. So it's very hard to make a tattoo ink look like purely blue in skin, especially if you have like a more olive skin tone. So what I like to do is, what do you do to get rid of yellow? You add purple, right? You want to annihilate the yellow with a purple. If you go by color theory, if you add a little bit of purple to that blue, you get rid of that yellow and you actually get a really nice blue. And then if you look at people's skin in that way, when you just have them make a fist like that, and you get like the knuckles to be really white, and you see the color of their skin without the blood, basically. And that's kind of what I go by when I try to determine what colors I'm going to use on them and what not. But adding a little bit of purple to blues, for example, is a really good idea. You know, the darker the skin gets, or the more olive the skin gets, that's normally a really good idea if you want something to be really, really blue. You know, but you never get a very vibrant blue that way, for example, because you always mix it with a bit of gray.
Yeah, that's I agree with everything you're saying. I wonder if, like, when you think about mixing complementaries, you neutralize the intensity of whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah. And
so I'm trying to neutralize the natural skin tone, so I can actually bring a color in and bring it in a way that makes it look like it is that color. But whenever you neutralize the skin tone, you gotta remember that you're also taking vibrancy away from the color that you use. Yeah. This got very technical.
Man, I love it. I love this kind of talk, because the thing is, it's like I spent so much time in my tattoo career for like 20 some odd years, and people I never knew people. It's not that I didn't know people that were smart enough to have the conversation. No one ever wanted to have these types of conversations, because everyone was so like set into what they were taught. They never wanted to be wrong or question what their thoughts were, what their beliefs were. And I love, man,
it's also super discouraged because you don't want to hand out the secrets, right?
Right. And yeah, which is the dumbest idea in the world. Well,
that's over. That's just over. That just screams insecurity to me now.
Yeah.
At this point.
One of the things that I love about the position that I'm in is sometimes I hear that stuff 2 or 3 times a week, and I'm like, man, almost everyone I talk to loves to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. We did the same thing, man. Like, Gabe, you and I came up in the same basic era of trying to like get into tattoo education. And if you go back to the videos we did in 2013, 14, 15, it was all people bashing us not because we were sharing information, but because we were asking like genuine questions from an educated point of view. There were already like tattoo YouTube things that were just a bunch of kitchen magicians. They had no idea what they were doing. It was the blind leading the blind. But as soon as people started coming in that had some idea of what they were talking about, they were asking educated questions, all of the tattoo old school kind of came in and were just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, are you trying to ruin tattooing? They didn't understand that like the sharing of information was not something that you could guard anymore. It was gone. And people didn't know that 3, 4, 5 years ago, and now they finally do. But you and I dealt with the same issues, where it was just like, oh, like watch it, like these. I had YouTube comments literally when I was just telling people different ways to like scumble up a line or something like that. That people literally commented, "Kill yourself." For real, kill yourself. You are so worthless. You're such a detriment to the tattoo community. You should commit suicide. You're so worthless for helping someone solve a basic problem in tattooing. And it wasn't because, well, yeah, it was crazy.
How do you read comments? I mean, I honestly, like, because I know how the human mind works by now after being on social media for such a fucking long time and having like massive anger issues, right? So,
Right.
no, I struggle with that shit. Obviously, I German, and I kind of learned that you value the negative comments like 100 times more than the positive comments. And
Yeah.
once you
Yeah.
know that about yourself, you just kind of have to make yourself skip over that stuff like you skip over chocolate in the supermarket.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. That's well put. Yeah.
You know, you just have to be smarter than your future self in that case, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And you just have to skip over that stuff, And on my Instagram, honestly, I just delete that shit. I just delete it. I don't want anybody to because the people that follow me and that comment on my stuff, they will start defending me. If there's somebody who's posting something shitty, people will go into flame war that I would never get into. And then there's people that go into like, oh no, you can't say that, blah, blah, blah. I just delete that shit right away. I don't give a shit.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not proud enough, to nah.
I struggle. We don't get as much of it as we used to, but I still struggle with it because it's because you understand where they're coming from. Like I get that there are people that still live in the mid 90s of tattooing. They never really learned to draw. They never learned social media. They never learned this or that. They still believe their mentor to such an extent that they would never like discount anything their original mentor told them to do or say. And it's
And
like
that's cool. That's
and they're
totally cool. And they need to be there, and we need them. And everybody, this is democracy, and everybody's voice is valid. But if it interferes too much with what I'm doing, and I want to hear them, but if I think they're full of shit, then I can't do anything for them.
Yeah. Well, and most of the time it comes from a real place of insecurity. Like it's just when you were someone and then you got left so far behind, which to an extent, anyone who's been tattooing 15 years got left behind. I mean, everyone knows someone's been tattooing less time than them that's really, really good now. And it comes down to how you process it and how you deal with it and how you respond to it.
For me, it's a lot about the personality, right? So, like, we all know people that have been tattooing 15 years that are getting left behind, and we also know people that have been tattooing 20 years that have to work twice as hard just to keep up. I mean, that's where, like, I'm drinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you take Gabe, you and I, we've talked about this before. I think you take people like Guy, who was just on the call, like Baxter, like Jeff Insminger, like Gogwe, like all these guys now who not that they're left behind, they're cornerstones of people who pay attention to tattooing, but people who have just gotten into tattoos in the last 4 or 5 years, they're not on their radar. Well, how do those guys respond to to going from being like the Mount Rushmore of tattooing to people who appreciate tattoos don't even know who they are? That happens to so many people, That
happens to everybody in life.
Yeah.
That happens to everybody in life. You have your prime, and then you're over. And then you're still alive. And then you're still alive, and then you're drinking, and you're starting to shit yourself, and your kids have to take care of you. That happens to everybody in life. It's just part of life. It's okay. It's totally fine.
As an observer, you can tell who is in it for the process and who's in it for the effects, eh? Because like somebody like Guy or the people that we're talking about that have been doing it for decades but are still progressing, they're addicted to the process. And it takes them more effort because they've already progressed as far as they have to like get farther ahead, but they still do. They have no choice. It's compulsive. I don't know what the fuck it is, but they keep doing it. And then you could tell that people who get into a really good groove, they get shit going, they get comfortable, and that's cool. But they're not. They can't put in the effort because they don't see the rewards, because it takes more effort to see less reward. But after 20 years, just that little extra still is perceptive. You can see it. It still looks better.
Yeah.
I have a strategy for this. I have a strategy for this. There's a lot of people who are doing biomech now who are obviously pretty inspired by what I've been doing, and I can see that, and I totally see it, and I like it. You know, I don't have a problem with it. There's a lot of people who actually like straight up copy my shit. You know, and that's all cool. But you know, I have my eye on you, and the first second you do something cool that I really like, I'm going to steal that shit right back. I'm going to steal that shit right back because I'm going to run out of steam at some point in my life. And then you're going to fucking pay me back, motherfucker, because, you know, obviously I've been providing for you and you're going to be providing for me when I'm getting old. So that's what I'm doing. That's my approach. I find that fair.
It's
To which
completely
I
fair.
say, bravo.
Yep.
Right? That's fair,
beautiful.
right? It's fucking fair because I feel like, you know, at some point, you know, the kids got to give back to the parents, and
It's
you know
true.
that's what
Yeah.
the whole cycle
They
that's how that works.
fucking fuck off.
No, so you
We
know,
made a thing.
So
and
so I
that's what enables me also to be cool with all of that and not be fucking, you know, like that's mine. I did that first, me. You know, so that's how I stay.
No, we're a community. We make a thing together.
Yeah, exactly.
what happens though whenever some percentage of those people never develop beyond what they took from you? Let's
That's
take
not
for
my
example, and I didn't bring this up but originally, but let's take for example this what was the piece earlier that was the portrait that had the lightning coming out of the eyes? That was a Benjamin Lucas piece. It had like a like an old English like letter. What was it?
Ballet piece.
Yeah, pull that up. That's a complete. I didn't say this originally because they're trying to learn. I just assumed this person was trying to like learn a trick and then adapt it, and most likely they are. They'll take this and move it on to something else. But that is a complete rip-off tattoo. How many people are doing your tattoos, Marcus, and they never get beyond it? Right? What do you say about that?
That's not my problem. What I say about that is when I
It's not
start
your problem, but you have to have a
no,
response
but
to it.
When I started to learn the guitar, I was playing Metallica riffs, you know, and I never got beyond that because I never became a fucking super famous guitar player. But if I would have become a super famous guitar player, do you think I would still playing fucking Metallica riffs? Of course not.
Yeah.
So that's not really my problem.
Yeah. Okay.
That's their problem. It's on them. Why would I? That's why no. That's completely on them to. It's completely on them to develop themselves further or to get stuck. And if they get stuck because they just don't have anything by themselves to bring to the table, or they only look at one source and they don't build a whole puzzle piece, you know, in the end of the day, look, whatever is your style or your taste is a conglomeration of all the things that you like. There's no originality as originality, really. Because when you do something absolutely original that nobody's seen before, it's going to look like shit. Because nobody's going to recognize it. It's going to look like that marshmallow that wanted to be a skull.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, unless you do something that people can actually put into a category that, oh, I've seen that somewhere before. And then you take a piece of this, like exactly the way that music works, you know, you take a piece of this and you take a piece of that, and you want to steal from as many sources as you can because that's going to make you look original. But that's what everybody's doing.
I mean,
but if you're only looking at one source, then it's very obvious that, you know, what you like, and it's very obvious at what you're looking at. But you want to look at as many different people as you can, and you know, preferably not only looking at tattoo artists, because that's a very, very narrow angle that you're looking at. There's so much more. There's other art. There's architecture. There's sculpture. There's fucking nature. Like if there's one artist that you're completely allowed to steal from, it's God, right? I mean, it's fucking nature out there. It's everything. And why are you not stealing from that? That's totally legit. That's the first thing that you should do.
But because that's the most difficult interpretation to make.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's not the first thing that I went to. I mean, I'd be lying if I'd say like, oh yeah, I went right back to the foundation. I went right back to like learning God's language. That was the first thing I did. Obviously not. I was stealing all of Guy's shit That was all I was doing in the beginning. And then I was like, oh, there's Aaron Kane. And I was stealing all of Aaron's shit. And then I thought I was going to be smart. And I was like, I'm just going to combine it. Just those two.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did that for a while. And I was like, still not mine. And I got really frustrated, you know.
Yeah.
But that's part of it, you know. It's like the whole frustration of it is fucking part of it. You got to struggle. None of this shit has to be easy. If you want to do something good, it can't be easy. Learning is never easy. Learning has to suck. Otherwise, you just don't learn anything new. I'm not drunk enough.
I would, to this point, from what I can remember, one of the things I repeat is you could always copy the last thing, but you can't copy the next thing, right? So it's like anything that we put out there, I mean, I don't draw, so, but like whatever ideas, whatever concepts, whatever Benjamin's doing, like it's there to be copied. That's the whole point. It's like it doesn't take any real energy. I mean, it takes a lot of energy, but it's replicatable. But what's not replicatable is the next thing that you're thinking, that you're taking, like, you know, all the different influences, Ben, God, like all of you, you know, filter it through you, next thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I heard this really great interview that Steve Houston did, painter, an American painter from out west, that he said that you can be completely original. He said you can make a Jello skyscraper. No one's ever done it before. You can get together with people, you can make a bunch of Jello, and you can make it a skyscraper. But it'd be completely stupid. No one would care about it. It would look dumb. He's like, or you could do what we call the mashup. You could do what we call the mashup. He's like, everyone knows. I put this into my. If any of you guys have watched my Find Your Style seminar or gone to it, I stole this from Steve Houston, which I told you guys on the front end. But he was like, look, everyone knows boarding school. Everyone's heard of boarding school. Everyone's heard of magic. But what if you went to magic school? You take a kid and he goes to magic school, and then you took two things that people understand really, really well, and you combine them in a way, and you add your own flair, and you make it really unique, and you come up with a Harry Potter series. Or let's say you take like a goody two shoes science teacher, high school science teacher, chemistry teacher, and you take the deepest drug lord in the meth world, and you put those two things together. It's things that people, it's Breaking Bad. It's things that that people know really, really well, that you present in a way that they never really considered before. And it's the way that everything really works. Like, Marcus, to your point, with music, with movies, with art, with whatever else, it's really difficult to be completely original, almost impossible. You can do it, but it's probably... My mic is off?
No, Thea's mic's off. She's talking.
Oh, sorry. You can be completely original, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to suck. Because of Marcus's point, no one knows what to do with it. They don't understand it.
Sorry, guys.
Or that's cool. Or you can
That
take
explains.
things that people, or you can.
I've been trying to tell you the meaning of life.
Or you can take things that people understand and present them in a way that they never considered.
It is not.
Yeah, 100%. Like peanut butter and jelly, or Nutella and bananas.
Right.
Yeah, no, totally. It's really that simple, you know. It's like I see so many people that are young who beat themselves up to find their own style, and they think they have to do something that is absolutely, they can't make it. They just can't hack it. And I'm always like, that's not how that works at all. You just need to look at more shit, and you need to find more shit that you like. And if you don't like any other thing, then you need to find out how to change your taste and widen your spectrum. You know, if you only like to eat French fries, that's not a very varied diet. You know, you like widen your spectrum.
Yeah.
Just don't. And that's all it really is. You know, you find your style by just your style is just a mix of the puzzle pieces of your taste and the shortcuts that you take. And you add that together, and then there you go. That's you.
Right.
And then you can develop that. Like Sean Barber said a really smart thing to me many years ago, where he was like, all of us, we learn to write the same way. We all learn how to write print. We all write print, and everybody has the same, it all looks the same. It's meant to look the same. And then we start writing cursive, And that's when we start actually doing like our little shortcuts and maybe slant it a little bit. And that's where everybody ends up with their own handwriting. Everybody. Some handwriting is ugly, some handwriting is beautiful, but everybody ends up with it. And nobody is trying to.
That's a great analogy. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
I love
happens.
that.
Yeah, Sean's a smart guy.
Yeah, that's a
I
great
really like
analogy.
Yeah.
It's
And
lost
that's
on
always-
it's
that's
lost
always-
on every
always-
generation going forward, but it's a great
Yeah.
analogy.
Well, it always stuck with me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yep.
I would
That's always
propose that
good.
some people actually are intentional about their signatures, though.
Intentional about their signatures. Man, I practiced mine like crazy because I was positive I was going to play in the NBA.
I practice my signature like crazy, dude. It's like it needs to look good. If you put that shit under a painting and it looks like a scratch, that sucks. You want it to look good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because at the Worldwide Tattoo Conference, everyone was doing signatures on the whatever the fucking. I completed the Worldwide Tattoo Conference, and it was like all these amazing signature guys' signature. Jeff's signature, Boris's signature, Alex Haas's signature, and then they gave it to me, and I was like,
I don't have a signature.
the first 30 signatures looked completely different from each other, and then I finally figured out, wait, I'm supposed to. But I'm not an artist.
But that's the thing, you know, as an artist, your signature actually is seen by people that you want it to be seen by. And if you're just using your signature as the magic to make things legit, you know, it doesn't matter what it looks like. You know, it can be an axe.
Yeah,
But if you
people used to make signatures that were like embossed, you know, like you could make a design as your signature, like a monogram, you know, that can be a lot more beautiful than like your penmanship necessarily, you know.
Your penmanship is almost secondary.
Yeah.
It's a process that is. It's an art. What's God?
You're drunk. You're
God
drunk.
damn it.
No, it
You're
is.
drunk. You're
drunk.
drunk.
No, there's a poster artist, Horst Johnson. He has like pages and pages of monogram, you know, styles, like just thumbnails of monograms. I mean, it's really something you can work through.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're at 3 hours and 47 minutes.
Holy shit! That's why my wife has been texting me asking if I'm okay. I came out to my wood shop.
Should we just do the self-critique shit and then maybe I can go to bed soon?
Yeah, you have to.
damn.
What time is
Should
it
we?
in Germany
Should
right
we
now?
really?
Should we save it
it's
for another
almost 4.
cast?
It's almost 4 o'clock.
It's almost 4 o'clock.
I don't give a shit anymore. At this point, I'm just going to stay awake.
Do you have to tattoo tomorrow?
Nah.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm not getting tattooed by you tomorrow.
I'm not tattooing anybody tomorrow. I'm doing Biomech. Who can tell the difference? Nobody.
Who even knows?
Sketching them.
I feel
propose
terrible.
Give everybody farewell and catch up with everybody in the future.
What?
I don't even know what you just said. That was you,
Catching
your
up.
eyes are closed.
It's a drunk chat.
Something went tits up.
Gabe, you have to keep the wheels on this vehicle, man. Come on, dude.
Right?
No one knows what you just said.
I know. How am I less drunk this time?
We're gonna end up in some really bad places. We're in this together.
Hey, dude, Gabe, pick one random one. I can't do a bunch of more, but pick one random one for us to do a final critique, and let's get out of here. I have to go. I'm gonna get in trouble.
One more. We'll give Lalo. Oh wait.
Yeah, let's do one of Lalo's tattoos. He was a shit
Yeah, that's
talker.
not fair. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Shit talker.
Oh,
Let's do it.
shit. Let's do this. I'm in.
All right. Oh, that's pretty good.
I know. That's too good.
Yeah. Is that
It's
what
not
it is?
good.
That's good.
No. You know what? It's no fun because he's not listening anymore.
Right,
You're
it's
right.
not
You're
fun.
right. I do like how he left it unfinished at the top. That's a good tattoo.
I like
You
it
like-
too. I
you
like
like
the
that?
feathers disappearing.
Yeah, I like it overall.
I feel like
I don't
the
think
goal
it's
is to go for absurdity. Like, we got to figure out like ridiculous things that.
Yeah, we gotta hack this thing apart.
Oh yeah.
Like if I was,
he's not listening
if
anymore.
I personally was to give a blowjob, I don't want to look this person in the eye.
Well, the thing is, yeah,
That's
the
how we
thing
should
is, like,
judge every tattoo going forward. And
I want to tear shit apart where I can imagine somebody's crying somewhere, and that's not happening.
I agree.
We're all good. Okay, 3 hours in. I'm not clicking any more shit.
Okay.
All right.
All right. All
Save it
right.
for the
That
next
was
one.
fun. I enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun again, man. This is
That was
a
a lot
great
of
idea.
We
I
had our
love-
time.
I love drunk critique.
Yep,
Yes.
we'll do it again.
We'll have to do it again next.
Yeah, I'll do
Gabe.
Hey,
this.
Gabe, let's put our resources together and invest in a recovery hospital circuit.
They're called
That
vitamin
works.
pushes.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
Let's try
IVs of vitamins. That's what all the rock stars get. They fly the nurses in.
Yeah.
They have
Let's just
IVs. They
keep-
plug them in.
What's Alex Jones pushing right now? Let's get that on.
Oh,
Let's get that off. Let's start making the start times for drunk critique early and earlier. I think Eastern time should be about
Earlier?
9 a.m. And then once we have 10 solid tattooers every week at 9 a.m. that'll start drinking, we can start pushing some recovery hospitals.
You
End of the
realize
day,
this
I
is
don't
worldwide, so we
care.
can catch Australia real easy.
Sponsored by.
You're so evil. Oh my god.
Look,
Sponsored by the Betty
I'm
Ford Clinic.
just trying to take care of my family.
I'm saying, if you want to drink that early, Australia's covered. I tried to get Joe in on this. 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern
Oh.
is night for Australia, so we're done. Joe,
This is
we're
hard
good.
to coordinate.
God.
Hey, Gabe, did you talk to Adrian at all?
I didn't. No, I was
Dominic?
scared.
Like
I was like 7 in the morning.
really awesome.
Adrian, who?
7 o'clock.
Adrian
in the morning
Dominic.
hurts me
Yeah,
in
he'd
a
be good.
different way.
Where is Adrian Dominic? Where's
He's
he
in
live?
Melbourne. He's in Melbourne, but he's super fun.
Oh.
He would be really
He's in
good at it.
Melbourne, really? That's
Yeah,
cool.
he's now.
No shit.
A couple of years
Huh.
already. He's from Phoenix,
Yeah.
but he moved to Melbourne. I think like 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, that's cool. Good for him.
I mean, there's an amazing crew of artists. Again, I am way down with doing the 7 o'clock in the morning.
I can't do that. I can't do 7.
Well, you said 9.
That's tough.
9. I can do 9. Yeah. I feel good.
That's a
So
different
wake
kind
up-
of drunk. If you do 7 o'clock in the morning, you know, you all grumpy, you're sitting there with your
Yeah.
coffee, you're doing critiques. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
worth
What
it.
time is it in Germany?
Right now,
Yeah.
it's almost 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
shit.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Yeah.
fine. Whatever.
I could
Okay.
I could do some like Irish coffee drunk critique. I'm really a lot more alert and I have stronger opinions with Irish coffee than I do with
I'm
beer.
done. And I'm done with pushing people's boundaries, so we'll start at 8:30. Not
Perfect.
sorry, not 9, but
Oh,
not
You
7.
know, as long as we're not working, who cares? You know.
That's true.
Right? And now
That's
I'm,
true.
I'm running a totally natural circadian rhythm. Normally I wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I go to bed at 10 right now because why not? Fuck it. I wake
It
up
really
with the
doesn't
sun, I go to
matter.
bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I-
meditate.
I personally have access to some really alternative timelines, but we won't go in. Yeah, skip over that.
No, you're just gonna tickle that and then just not
Yeah.
finish. Or-
Yeah, just
Your Victorian couch has eyeballs, so I believe you.
little pat.
yeah, they're looking confused too.
Okay.
All right. I'm out of here.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
All right.
guys.
Thanks,
Have a good
guys.
night.
This was
Thank you for
awesome.
watching.
Love you
That
all.
was fun.
Yeah.
Bye, Al.
Love you guys.
Catch up in the
enjoyed
future.
critiquing with
Drink
you
lots of
guys.
water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Prepare.
Don't
For
call
another
me
day.
before noon.